lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
Good morning, Sac City. Welcome into another edition of Sac City Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He looks tired. His phone's not on mute. This man is battered and bruised after Thanksgiving Day. He is Aaron, the Mukesiah Mukes. It is a beautiful November 25th morning. Black Friday is upon us here.
Whoa. Can we not start with the racist comments this early in the morning?
Plantation, Florida, baby. Got to keep my reputation, dog. Got to keep my reputation, man. That's what I got to do. It is Discount Friday. Is that what we want to refer to it as then? If we cannot use the word Black Friday, is that okay? Discount Friday because of all the deals? No? We'll work on it. We'll workshop this for next year. It is Friday. It is the day that a lot of people are off, but we're not off because we're here and we're also going to our jobs today. November 25th morning here in the city. Episode 123 is about to kick off. We've got week 12 action to preview and also a few games to recap. Yesterday's action featured 3 games on Thanksgiving Day that we are going to recap as well as preview 13 games today. We've got a loaded show, loaded with previews and recaps. Aaron, how was your day yesterday? How was your football watching?
It was all right. It was all right. Not my typical Thanksgiving. It was a little tough not being with the family, but I watched the games. I did watch them, but I was also working. Had a live high school football show that I had to do. So, but overall, it was good. I got to relax a little bit, which I haven't been able to do for a number of months now. At least for every day I can now, I take advantage of it. So it was cool. How about you? Did you? Can you please apologize?
I will not apologize for any of the comments that I said yesterday about Thanksgiving. I stand by my Thanksgiving is the most overrated holiday in the world right now. But you and I did have a discussion yesterday, coming to the conclusion on where my hatred is rooted, and it comes down to turkey. Turkey's the most overrated food. I'm a sides guy. Don't give me turkey.
Say that, but don't talk about the holiday itself.
Well, guess what? I only watched one game last night. Only watched one game, and I didn't even watch it from start to finish. So really, I did not get to watch my football. So your 3 T's of Thanksgiving or football, friends and family or food and whatever the 3 F's of Thanksgiving or whatever it is. I only got to do 2 of those things, and it wasn't even the 2 that I wanted. Okay, It is not mine. I have family that I love and care about that I had to go see that flew up here just for us. We were happy to see them, but I didn't get to watch a single lick of actual football. I was in Rhode Island, so I couldn't even bet. I tried to place my bet, and I would have lost money anyways, but I didn't even get to bet. My parlay that I had was Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Stephon Diggs all getting tutties yesterday. And I got 2 of the 3 and almost 3 of the 3 if I would have placed the bet, but I didn't place the bet because I was not in Connecticut to place the bet. That's how my Thanksgiving was, Aaron. That's how my Thanksgiving was.
You're just a disgrace. Disgrace to all sports across the nation.
All right. Well, let's go inside those matchups. I forgot that was there.
Are you okay?
I'm sorry. That was great. I forgot that existed.
The
Buffalo Bills. Okay, all right. Clean start here. Clean start. Oh, man, that was great. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Detroit Lions to kick off Thanksgiving Day 28-25 on a last-minute field goal from Tyler Bass to seal the deal for the Buffalo Bills. This game was close throughout. It was not a dominant performance from Buffalo, but they still continue to reign supreme in the city of Detroit, winning now two games in just 5 days in Detroit at Ford Field with this win 28-25. Close game. Aaron, I guess my question right off the jump here is this close game more of, and let me preface this, it's hard to win in the NFL. Plain and simple, it's hard to win in the NFL. We talk about it all the time. But is this game being close, 28-25 like this, more of where the Lions are at in terms of being much better than we thought? Or is this a sign of the Bills maybe struggling a little bit through the past 3 games?
A little. I don't want to say a little bit of both because I'm fine on the Bills, but I don't know that it's fully an indicator of where the Lions are at. You got to remember, you talk about winning is tough on the road, but it's also tougher on Thanksgiving Day. Like, these guys have a lot to play for. These guys want to come out. They want to play for their families. They get to the special honor of playing on this special day. And I told everybody, I said that the Lions were going to come out and they were going to punch the Bills in the mouth. And then I thought the Bills would pull away. And that's where it kind of didn't happen, right? We talk about it got to 19-14, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is when the Bills are going to kind of pull away. And the Detroit kind of answered back. And the one thing that I would say I do have a little bit of concern on for the Bills was their defense. Their defense did not play that well. They gave up 326 total yards of offense. But you got to remember, Josh Allen also threw a pick in the red zone again. If he doesn't throw that pick, they score there. This game could look a lot different. So it typically went the way I thought it would. I thought the Bills were the better team. I thought they would outlast Detroit, but I did think they would stretch that lead out a little bit more at the end, and they didn't. They gave Detroit an opportunity to at least remain in the game, and ultimately tie the game before Buffalo went down with very little time left and kicked the game-winning field goal. So yeah, maybe it's been a little closer than I thought, but there were some things I was super impressed with Buffalo. Also, they ran the ball for 164 yards, which they hadn't done. We've talked about it. They haven't been able to run the ball in the past. I thought that was big for them. They still had over 400 yards of total offense. They were 7 for 12 on third down. So it's not like they were bad. Like, they were good. They were the Buffalo Bills. They scored 28 points. They just met up with a team that really was playing energized. They were on a 3-game win streak. And again, it was Thanksgiving Day and they wanted to show out for their city. And they did. And the Detroit Lions should be happy and should be proud that they're playing the way they're playing, because you can look at them and say, that good culture shift is now turning into wins.
Yeah, it's turning into wins and close games against really good teams in the Buffalo Bills. You had mentioned the concern for the Buffalo Bills defense in this game, and the Lions, obviously, at the start of the season were leading the NFL in points per game, but then struggled and started to kind of come back down to earth. This game, obviously, not the 35 points they had at the beginning of the season, but putting up 25 on the Bills defense. You had mentioned the concern might be there for that D. They lost Von Miller in that game to a right knee injury. Obviously, still no Tre'Davious White. Like, this is a team that's still banged up on defense, but where is your concern level for the Bills? At least when we talk about where this team is going to end up in the playoffs against a team like the Chiefs, against teams like Cincinnati and Baltimore, like high-powered offenses. Where is your concern level for the Buffalo Bills defense on a scale of 1 to 10?
Concern on a scale of 1 to 10. So highest number would be more concerned. A 3. I'm not concerned. I don't have a lot of concern. There are some things you can point to. Losing Von Miller hurts, right? We got to see how long he's going to be out, but I think he's back before playoffs either way, and they probably don't need to rush him back. Tre'Davious White saw the field for the first time. Like, he's going to come back and be better. Matt Milano was back on the field. He hadn't played in a few weeks. So I think they'll be fine overall. And you talk about the good offenses. Well, I would put Detroit in the category of good offense. That is a very well-run offense when their guys are healthy. When they have Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift, and I know Swift hasn't been playing as much, but when they have those two guys, that offense is really, really capable of doing some special things. And we've seen that throughout the course of the year. So I would count Detroit in that upper echelon of offenses. Obviously, they're not Kansas City. Obviously, they're not, the Cincinnati Bengals. But if I had to look at Detroit and I told you they were a top 12 offense, top 12 to 15 offense, I think that's safe to say. So they are a good offense. So them putting up yards and scoring points is not a surprise to me. So a 3. Detroit's a good offense. Buffalo will be okay. Buffalo will play better against the better teams. I truly believe that. They're not out of any game, and they have Josh Allen. So as long as Josh Allen is healthy, which sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I worry about. I can see it on some of his throws. that he has to muscle through a game. Sometimes he's short. You can tell it might like twinge on him or something. That might be a bigger concern than the defense, but he's still playing, so you got to feel okay with that.
Yeah, this in this game, Josh Allen had obviously the interception that we mentioned in the red zone, his 6th turnover for the Bills in the red zone this season, surpassing the total he had in the previous 3 years with the Bills. I had mentioned earlier that I think I misspoke, and I want to correct myself before Bills Mafia just loses their shit on me, saying that Tre'Davious White has been out. He did return in this game against the Detroit Lions. His first game back after tearing his ACL last season, but still a very banged up defense, and a defense that we think will figure it out come playoff time when it really matters. But either way, the Bills do win this game. They move on to 8-3. The Lions move on to 4-7. The Bills next up play the New England Patriots on Thursday Night Football, and the Lions will play the Jaguars at home on Sunday for week 13. That's the week we're going into. Yeah, that's that. I'm sorry. I ruined it. I ruined the clip for you. Oh, no, my goodness. Fine. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to wrap that one. The Detroit. Oh, my goodness. I'm a mess this morning. I'm a mess. Too much turkey yesterday, and I hated every bit of it. The Dallas Cowboys defeat the New York Giants 28-10 on Thanksgiving. This really wasn't as close as the score says. It was a late touchdown, a late garbage time touchdown from the New York Giants in this one to make it 28-20. It was originally obviously 28-13, but the Dallas Cowboys continue to show their dominance in this one, defeating the New York Giants. Aaron, I know we talk about the Cowboys all the time. We talk about how they're like one of the most complete teams in the NFL, if not the most complete team in the NFL. So I don't want to keep harping on that. I want to talk about the Giants a little more here. They now lose yet another game after starting red hot this season. They lost last week to the Giants. They lost the week prior to they lost last week to the Lions. The week prior to the Seahawks. Now to the Cowboys. They're kind of reeling a little bit after losing a few games and after really going on a streak. Where is your concern level with the Giants now moving forward as the playoff race continues to heat up? More teams start getting involved. The Commanders are not far behind them. Where are we at with the Giants right now?
I think we're in the same spot we were before. Well, let me clarify that I was before. I told everybody that this team everything has to go right. This is a team that they're a good football team. They do have a good roster. The problem is on offense, if Saquon Barkley doesn't go bananas, they can't win games because they can't score enough. Everybody wants to give credit to Daniel Jones for what he's done this year. All Daniel Jones has done this year is be a game manager. He has not shown that he can be a franchise quarterback. And I think this is how the expectations of a player can shift over time. You take Daniel Jones with the number 6 overall pick. You're expecting a franchise quarterback. Through the course of his first 4 seasons, he's turning the football over. He's losing them games. He's costing them games. And so what do? We say, oh, he's not it. They need a different franchise guy. They go out and bring a coach in who changes Daniel Jones, changes everything about Daniel Jones that we've seen over the past 4 years. He's turned him into a game manager who doesn't turn the football over, but he's just managing the game. He's just doing enough to keep his team in it. And then we start to shift that conversation. Oh, he's played well. But no, we have to still remember that expectation that we had of him. This is almost identical to the argument I always bring up with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not that Jimmy Garoppolo is not good. It's that Jimmy Garoppolo is a game manager who got paid $100 million to be more than a game manager. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to just talk about how much they win and, oh, they're successful. And that's great. But are they winning you games when it matters? That's what they are paid to do. Jimmy was paid to do that. Daniel Jones was drafted to win you games when it mattered. And because he hasn't done that, they're where they are. They're a pedestrian offense when Saquon Barkley is not dynamic. And we saw it again yesterday. Saquon didn't have the best of days. Once again, Dallas's defense showed up. And Daniel Jones had moments, but the deep ball down the field to Darius Slayton, nice catch there. But then at times, it's like he still can't get over the hump. He doesn't have that skill set. The Giants are in trouble, and the Giants are the worst team in this division because of that reason. They are the worst team in this division because You look at Washington and their defense, and they're good. And you look at Washington and their weapons. Guess what? They got more weapons than the New York Giants. They don't have Saquon. They don't got a guy like Saquon, but they have Samuel and McLaurin and Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. Like, they have more to give. And then you look at Taylor Heineke, and I'm sorry, but if you look lined up Taylor Heineke right now next to Daniel Jones, you couldn't tell the difference. They're both athletic. Right. They both can run around. They both can throw the ball when they need to, and they're both going to throw bad passes at points in the game. So right now, the Washington Commanders are better than the New York Giants. The New York Giants are the worst team in the NFC East. They're still solid. They'll still win some games, but losers now in 3 of their last 4. And I don't know that trend continues down or doesn't continue down the stretch. They play the Commanders 2 of the next 3 games. They play the Eagles. So 3 straight division games. They have to go to Minnesota that 4th game. Then they play the Colts, and then they finish out with the Eagles again. So they have 4 division games in their last 4 division games in their last 6. And then they go on the road to the Vikings, the Colts being their easiest game. That's a tough stretch. And the Giants could find themselves out of the playoffs. Like, they really could find themselves out of the playoffs if they don't get some of these division wins over the next couple of weeks.
That's where I was kind of trying to get at here, is with them being right there in the wild card spot. Obviously, the NFC East crown is going farther and farther away from everybody, not named the Philadelphia Eagles. It's tough to be a Giants fan and now thinking, oh man, we had this hot start and now we're this close to being out of the playoffs. Now, you look at how the Seattle Seahawks, they were leading their division, and we're going to preview their game in a little bit. They were leading the NFC West, and now San Francisco is hot on their heels. The Seattle Seahawks have to go somewhere. They drop back into the wild card spot, and there's now becoming an absolute war in the NFC for the last wild card spots. And the Giants could be on the outside looking in. And you talked about it, how it was great that they were winning these games, but the underlying truth of the matter with the Giants has been there with the poor play of Daniel Jones and him not being able to get them over the hump. You look at it like almost like what the Tennessee Titans have with Derrick Henry, where it's like, okay, Ryan Tannehill has to step up at times or this team's never going to get to the next level. Same with the Giants, but it's just they're not on the Tennessee Titans level yet of being able to work around the inefficiencies of a Daniel Jones. And it showed in this game as they fall here to the Cowboys 28-10. They now move to 7-4. Cowboys move to 8-3. The Cowboys next up have the Indianapolis Colts at home. And like you said before, the Giants meet the Commanders in an NFC East battle. Big time game next week at home for the G-Men. The last game for the Thanksgiving the last game of the Thanksgiving showcase here, the Patriots falling to the Minnesota Vikings 33-26 here. Vikings bounce back after getting whipped by the Cowboys last week. They come back, get a dub on prime time. Kirk Cousins said, I don't care about prime time football. I'm Kirk mother effing Cousins, and I'm going to throw it up, and Justin Jefferson's going to catch that ball. And Justin Jefferson is that dude. He really helped lead this Vikings team over the New England Patriots here, 33-26. Aaron, your biggest takeaway from this one here between these two teams?
My biggest takeaway is, I love being right. I'm always right. It's so good to be right. Why is it that I'm always right? I'm going to say it. I'm tooting my horn. I was right again. Again, look, I said this before the game when you talked about New England's defense. I said, you know what? We need to pump the brakes on how good that New England defense is. Once again, they haven't played any offenses. They benefit in the statistical categories by being a good defense because they get to play the Jets twice, and they get to go play the Browns without a quarterback, and they played the Steelers and the Packers. Well, even the Packers game they lost. Let's talk about the offenses that they've played against. Baltimore's offense, they gave up 37. They gave up 33 to Chicago. But, yeah, you can hold the Colts and the Lions to 0 points when they're without Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift. This is who they've beaten. Steelers, Lions, Browns, Jets, Colts. This Patriots team is not that great of a football team, guys. They are good enough because of Bill Belichick to beat teams that are in the middle of the road, but they are not good enough to beat good football teams. And despite how bad Minnesota's defense was again. I knew Minnesota was the better team, and Minnesota was going to win this game because I knew they would not be able to stop that offense. And so I want to pump the brakes on the New England Patriots. And I get nobody's really been talking about them like that, but they're still sitting right there in that playoff picture in the AFC. And I think it's just false. I think it's a fake thing right now. They go play the Bills next week. Good luck with that. Then they get the Cardinals, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills. I would imagine they're going to be in a very similar situation to the New York Giants, that they are going to be fighting for their playoff lives, and that they're probably going to be on the outside looking in when it's all said and done with that schedule. So nice, easy schedule to pad some wins early, but they're going to have to win some games late. My biggest takeaway here were these defenses still suck, both of them.
Yeah. I think my other big takeaway, and I know the stat line for Mac Jones, but Mac Jones also sucks. Like, Mac Jones sucks.
It's the same argument. You're paid. You're not. He was paid. He was drafted to be a franchise guy. You can't watch Mac Jones play football and think that's a franchise guy. It's funny how last year he was an MVP in the MVP talks. It's super funny how I haven't heard the media talk about Mac Jones in months. It's so funny how they just forget that all last year everybody was raving about him, and now I can't find him on the TV anywhere because they realized how wrong they were. And instead of coming out and saying it, they just go on to something else. Mac Jones is just Mac Jones. He's not an elite quarterback.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because he had a career high in passing yards in this one with 382 yards, and still at the end of the day, we're talking about him just not being able to do it. And I thought the Patriots could have won that game if Mac Jones is not. There were certain throws in the clutch that Mac Jones could not make, that did not make. I thought the Nelson Aguilar play at the end of the game, I thought he could have hit him, and it ended up getting Nelson Aguilar hurt. But I think that there were a few plays towards the end there where he was like, okay, he just couldn't hit him. He just couldn't hit him. And then there were plays in the pocket where I'm like, man, he's like very Matt Ryan-esque, where he's just standing there and not able to move and step up and make a play. And again, the stat line says history-making day for Mac Jones. It really wasn't that special of a day as the Vikings defeat the Patriots 33-26. Aaron, let's shift our attention now to the rest of Week 12 and get into the AFC matchup previews for Sunday and Monday. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-5 travel to Cleveland to take on the 3-7 Browns. The Bucks are 3.5-point favorites in this one with an over/under of 43 points. Aaron, the Bucks come into this game. I think they've lost three straight road games. I have to take a look in 2 straight road games. They've lost two of their last road games, and they're now on the road again. Cleveland, Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. What do you have your eye on in this one between these two teams?
Well, I think it's a benefit that the Tampa Bay is coming off of a bye week. We talk about what they're going to be able to do if Tom Brady is right. And we talked about maybe even the mental space that Tom Brady has been in over the past couple of months hasn't been there. And now I think that mental space is starting to pick up. I think he's starting to get comfortable. So really Tampa Bay, I think needed to stay the course. And I think they've done that. I think they're in a division that's been fortunate enough to allow them to go through some of these hurdles early in the season. And now Tom Brady seems to be a little bit more free. They have a running game that maybe is getting healthier now that Leonard Fournette had the bye week off. Rashad White's been integrated into the offense. You still have Evans, Godwin. We've seen the kind of emergence of Cade Otton. Julio Jones is back on the field. I think this really comes down to what they're going to do once this division is wrapped up. And I get it. The Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta nuisances are kind of keeping that from happening right now. So they're only a game back. So they're still right there. They have the same amount of wins as Tampa. But I think Tampa down the stretch will get things going. I'm looking forward to start here. No Deshaun Watson in this game for Cleveland. I think that's big, obviously, being on the road. I think with Deshaun Watson there, it's a different game. And they have I don't say they have an easy schedule going forward, but they have some nice matchups outside of the 49ers and Bengals. I do expect Tampa to win 5 of their last 7 games. So I see this team going 10-7, winning the division, and really it's going to be about what are they able to do to get healthy and to get right once the playoffs start.
On the Browns side, Aaron, the Nick Chubb not having the best of weeks last week against tough Buffalo Bills run defense. Last week, 14 carries, 19 yards, his lowest of his career in terms of yards per carry. It was a tough week for Nick Chubb. What do you expect to see from him against Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense?
Well, Tampa Bay's Buccaneers run defense hasn't been very good, honestly. I expect, I would hope that Cleveland stops trying to outsmart themselves, and I feel like they're leaning too much on Jacoby Brissett. And it's great for Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. They're putting up numbers, but 24 carries in 2 games for Nick Chubb isn't enough. Nick Chubb is a volume runner that he gets better as the game goes on and breaking tackles. You have to trust that, and you have to be able to get that running game going early. But a lot of that starts on the defensive side of the football. They have to be able to get stops so that their offense can control tempo and give Nick Chubb the ball more. I thought they were starting to do a good job of that early in the game against Buffalo, but they got away from it when that game was still close. And I think just the volume needs to be there for Nick Chubb. If they don't give him the volume, then they can't expect the results. And like I said, he's a volume type runner.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's like that Derrick Henry-esque type of runner where he just gets stronger and stronger the more you give him the ball. I think this is funny that I'm trying. I guess I'm reading this right. The Browns offense ranks 3rd in terms of PFF grades, and their defense ranks 30th in terms of PFF grades, which is wild to me to think that the Browns offense ranks 3rd. I'm not sure what the grading system is for PFF, but they're the 3rd ranked offense in the NFL, according to PFF. But really, I say this because their defense has to step up. Like, that's what I see in this game is the defense has to step up. You're at home going up against a good offense. You went out and you paid Denzel Ward. He has not played well this season, in my opinion. He's not played well. The pass rush isn't as effective as it should be. You have Myles Garrett there. You have the bodies. We talked about this defense. Like, they have the names. Like, okay, like they have the potential, but they're one of the worst in the NFL, and that's unacceptable. We talk about Deshaun Watson coming in and making a difference for this team, but it won't matter if this defense cannot step up and play like we expected them to play. In this game, I find it tough to have them bounce back and to have them show up and show out against a Brady-led offense that you said before, and I agree with it. They're starting to click. They're starting to get in their rhythm. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all those bodies involved now. They're getting a running game going with Fournette and Rachaad White. I don't see this working out in Cleveland's favor. I have the Bucs winning this one, and I'll go 28-20 Bucs.
Yeah, I think Tampa's too much. The Browns allowing nearly 27 points a game, 3rd worst in the NFL. They're very reminiscent of what the Chargers do. Big names, no production. Give me Tampa in this one. I think Brady's going to start ascending here. I will take Tampa 30-20.
Rematch of the AFC divisional round from last year when the Bengals beat the Titans 19-16. They meet up once again this season now in Tennessee. Last year it was in Tennessee as well. But the Bengals won that game. Joe Burrow was sacked a record 9 times in that game. Hopefully, with the new offensive line that they are trying to build here in Cincinnati, we don't see Burrow on his back 9 times. But these two are matched up again here in a rematch of last year's divisional round. The Bengals are 1.5-point favorites with an over-under of 42.5 points. The Bengals are starting to, another one of those teams that are starting to click and fire on all cylinders with their offense. Joe Burrow heating up, T. Higgins heating up. The concern looms for whether or not Joe Mixon's going to play, but it seemed like that wasn't a problem without Joe Mixon. Samaje Perine stepped up for them last week. Battle, though, rematch of what happened last year. What do you expect to see in this game? I know that's kind of the consistent question I'm asking here, and it's almost very straightforward and a simple question, a layup question for me to ask. But I'm wondering what to watch for here between these two teams after what we saw last season.
Well, I think last season was last season. This season was this season. But one thing that I have my eye on is the injuries for the Tennessee Titans at key positions. Center Ben Jones has been out. He's out. Danico Autry. Listen to their defense. These are the guys that are out, starters that are out. Danico Autry, Bud Dupree, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, and Elijah Molden. At some point, that's going to catch up to you, especially a defense especially in that back end, that back seven, back eight. That's going to hurt against a team that's getting Jamar Chase back and getting healthy at the right time. So the 9 sacks that happened last year didn't stop Cincinnati from beating you. So that's obviously a concern still for Cincinnati. The offensive line's played better, but still has some things they need to work on. But for me, is Tennessee going to have enough firepower to be able to keep up with Cincinnati with all those injuries on the back end? Obviously, Jeffrey Simmons is one of the better defensive linemen in football. He's really good against the run, even better against the pass. And the style of play in which Tennessee plays, they usually keep it close the way they play. And you have Derrick Henry, who's a game changer against anybody. But I just think it's going to be too much. I just think that the Cincinnati Bengals are getting more healthy. They have a better roster. And even if Joe Mixon doesn't play, they're relatively healthy. Outside of Jamar Chase, there's not many injuries that are on Cincinnati's roster right now. You got Dax Hill, who's been out, but again, he's a rookie. So I think I like the health and where Cincinnati's at. I feel like regardless of whether it's Joe Mixon or Samaje Perine or Travion Williams, that the run game doesn't mean as much for Cincinnati as it does for some teams. They can still get guys in there to take carries away, but ultimately it's going to result in Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And if Jamar Chase is back this week, it could spell some trouble for Tennessee.
I know you're talking about a lot about the outside weapons and the outside part of this game. I think really this game comes down to the trenches because there's something that I've noted here. The Bengals have been without DJ Reader for 6 games this season compared to the 4 games he's played in this season. And it's drastically different in terms of the rushing yards per game that they're allowing. Without DJ Reader, 135 yards per game, rushing yards per game, as opposed to 90 when he was in the lineup. You're now matched up against Derrick Henry. I think that the trenches are going to be a huge factor in this game. And I think that's what it comes down to. And Aaron, you talk about this, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm gonna play the Titans fan here in this because you talk about eventually it's going to catch up to him with the injuries. Eventually it was going to catch up to him last year with the injuries, and it didn't happen until the playoffs when we realized, okay, this Tennessee Titans team, maybe they're not it. But during the regular season, I think they proved it last year when they won all those games with a banged up roster, one of the most hurt rosters in the NFL. It's coming down to what Mike Vrabel is able to preach for this team. It didn't matter how many guys they lost last year. They were still the best team in the AFC in terms for wins. They flat out won with that banged up roster. They proved, and I think they keep proving that. At what point does it become, okay, we just have to trust what Mike Vrabel is doing? Because he can't just keep saying, okay, it's going to catch up to him, because it hasn't.
Yeah, well, we can talk about last year, but last year this is not the same Tennessee Titans team. We forget one glaring weakness that Tennessee does not have this year. His name is A.J. Brown. And when you look at some of those games last year, especially towards the end of the season when they were banged up, it was A.J. Brown every week. A.J. Brown in the San Francisco game. A.J. Brown against Miami was their leading receiver. A.J. Brown against Houston had a good day. Like, these games down the stretch was A.J. Brown. When A.J. Brown didn't play or was not involved, they actually struggled. When it was Nick Westbrook-Akini between Houston, New England, and Brett Swain or Jeff Swain led again that 20-0 win over Jacksonville, their offense wasn't the same. When they had A.J. Brown, it was 30-plus points a game. And that's without Derrick Henry, but Deontay Foreman was still in there running the ball. I think it's different when you have resources on the outside, like in A.J. Brown. Teams can't just say, we're going to stack the box and we're going to stop Derrick Henry. And that's the difference. We saw last week, when somebody wants to stop Derrick Henry, I'm telling you right now, any defense can stop the running game. They can. It doesn't matter how good your personnel is, if DJ Reader's in the lineup or not in the lineup. If they want to stop the running game, they can. What people fear, especially defensive coordinators, is you put resources to stop the run, and then you have guys on the outside that absolutely kill you. And those are explosive plays. They'd rather die a slow death than die by giving up 40 and 50-yard bombs each and every time. So if Cincinnati wants to stop the run, they will. I promise you that. Every team can do it. I tell you this all the time about Dallas. They say, go ahead, we'll let you run the ball. We'll let you run the ball. You're eventually going to get a holding penalty, put you behind the chains, and you're going to have to throw it. I think this is more about the outside weapons of Tennessee, and maybe they can get it from Treylon Burks. Maybe they can get something from Nick Westbrook-Ikine. But I'm willing to bet that Cincinnati's saying, no, they can't. And so in that playoff game last year, Cincinnati was able to shut down Derrick Henry, and nobody else was able to step up, including A.J. Brown at that time. I look for that to happen again, and it'll probably be a tight game again. It will. It'll be a tight game. It'll be a defensive battle because that's what Tennessee wants to do. They want to play ugly. But Cincinnati's been in ugly games, and they came out on top in that game after giving up 9 sacks. I'm rolling with the Bengals here. I think the Bengals are a better football team. I think they win 23, and then Tennessee's maximum score, as always, is 17.
I'm gonna go with the opposite end. I'm going to go Titans here, 24-23 Titans. I think the rushing attack does work for Tennessee. And get this, buddy, get this, to rebuttal you, to send it back in your face. It doesn't matter. The logic does not matter when it comes to the Tennessee. It is all thrown out the window. If you can tell me the 3 best records in the NFL since last season, the 3 best records, I'll give it to you. I'll give you the win.
Since last season?
Since last season, the 3 best records in the NFL.
What do you mean 3? Like winning wins, losses? Teams with
wins, losses. Yes, wins, losses.
Oh, I'd say the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Tennessee Titans.
The Chiefs, the Titans, the Cowboys. The 3 best records in the NFL since last year. The Chiefs 20-7, the Titans 19-8, the Cowboys 19-8. The Tennessee Titans are foolproof in the during the regular season. They are just, it's impossible to get through them in the regular season. Mike Vrabel coaches this team up too well.
They don't lose games?
They don't lose games. They've only lost 8. That's one more loss than the Chiefs.
They've lost 3 games this year. So they obviously lose games.
Not with Mike Vrabel as their head coach during the regular season. It just doesn't happen. Even the McGoat has some losses this season. They're only 1 loss behind the McGoat. They get the dub this week. And the McGoat loses this week. They're right there tied with the Kansas City mother effing Chiefs,
who already beat them.
That may be true, but the regular season Titans are a different breed. Give me you're going to screw me up here. I'm going to talk about this after we end this video here, but you are screwing me up here.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Titans get 6 wins.
Titans 24-23. Bing bang boom. I can't. Okay, we gotta talk. I gotta talk to you about this. I am like defending the Titans here, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't like this. I don't like where I'm at. In my mental state.
But this is what I told you.
And my predictions are gonna suffer because of it. They're gonna suffer because of it. And I hate you. I know what you did. You did this on purpose. This is you. This is all of your doing. This is all of what you wanted to do. This was your plan in the first place to get me behind in the standings. I get it. Let's move on. The Houston Texans travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Texans, the 1-8-1 Texans, the 7-3 Miami Dolphins. This one on paper, not supposed to be that close. Dolphins 13-point favorites. The over-under of 46 points. And I'm sure most of those 46 points going to come from the Miami Dolphins because Kyle Allen will be the starter for the Houston Texans on Sunday. It appears that Kyle Allen will be the starter for the Texans on Sunday. I don't think it's been official yet, but it is official.
Kyle Allen starting.
Okay, so it hasn't been made because I remember Lovie Smith was like, it's not made official yet, but he's taking all the reps at 1 and he's the guy, but like Lovie Smith just doesn't want to make it official. Either way, Kyle Allen being the starting quarterback, what change do we expect to see anything different from the Texans offense with Kyle Allen in this one?
No.
More Bainbridge, Dameon Pierce?
No, I think we already need to see a lot of that. But look, I do have a problem with this. I'm not sure I quite understand like NFL coaches' mindsets. When you're a team like the Houston Texans, and now you're what 1-8, 1-9,
1-8-1.
Yeah, so 1-8-1. Their playoff hopes are dead. They're not winning. going to a guy in Kyle Allen who in 17 starts is 7-10, who has shown that he's not very good. In his 1 year as a starter, where he played like 13 games in Carolina, he threw 17 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. I get that we don't think Davis Mills is it, and I'm on board with Davis Mills not being it. But what do you gain by going to a Kyle Allen? This is not a guy where you had a young quarterback on your roster. You said, okay, we're going to let the young guy play now and get an opportunity. This is just going to somebody else who has proven that he's not very good either. So I'm not sure I understand why they're moving on from Davis Mills at this point. I would have just let Davis Mills continue to get reps throughout the year. I get you want to hold that locker room and you want to make sure that they're not saying, well, we need a different guy, a different voice or whatever. But I don't, my philosophy is unless you're replacing him with somebody who's had some success or a young guy that you're trying to see what he's got, I would have just left in Davis Mills. I don't think that it was that bad to where Davis Mills deserved to be benched to put in Kyle Allen. Like, is Kyle Allen better than Davis Mills? No, I don't know.
Well,
I would argue he's not. But go ahead.
Maybe it does have something to do with what you said. Maybe it is saying, okay, we're not in a playoff spot. Let's see what Kyle Allen can do before
we've seen it.
We haven't seen it in Houston.
We've seen Kyle Allen play football. I don't need to see it on a different team. It's the same thing I said with Carson Wentz. Just because you change teams doesn't make you a different player. Sure. You know, and sorry, last time I checked, Kyle Allen had way more weaponry where he was at previously in Carolina and in Washington than the Houston Texans have. So, again, I'm not saying Kyle Allen's going to be mad, but usually when you go to another guy, you're looking for a spark. But what are they sparking? Houston, like, what are they sparking a playoff run?
I think what it is, no, I think what it is now is I personally think it's on that side of it's them saying, okay, yeah, the season is starting to come to a close. We're not in playoff contention. Let's see what Kyle Allen has before we completely just punt the position and go CJ Stroud with the first overall pick.
No, you cannot believe that. You cannot believe that if Kyle Allen comes in and plays well, that they are not drafting a quarterback in the first round.
If Kyle Allen wins them, if they win out, you think Kyle Allen can be, and it's because of Kyle Allen. Okay.
No, he won't be the starter next year. Like this is my point. I guess that's my point is you're giving a guy who's been in the league for 4 years, had opportunities. You're giving him another shot. And Davis Mills has been in here a year and a half and you're already giving up on him, but you haven't given up on the guy that's been there for 4 years that hasn't done anything. Like,
well, no,
I don't understand that logic.
I'm just saying, if you look at their schedule here, and they have what? So Miami here. If they beat Dallas, if Kyle Allen is the reason why they're winning games towards the end of the season, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Kyle Allen wins them these games, you know you don't stand a chance with Davis Mills. You probably know you don't stand a chance with Kyle Allen. But either way, you've seen what Kyle Allen or Davis Mills does with in a Houston Texans uniform. You've seen what Davis Mills has been able to do. It.
What if Davis Mills went out and won these games?
But he hasn't been able to do it through the first part of the season. So now it's time to see what Kyle Allen can do, and then bing bang boom. You never know.
There is zero chance. I don't care if the Houston Texans win the rest of their games and they go 1-7 and 1-8-1, so they're 10. So they're 8-8-1 at the end of the season.
It's pretty good.
Kyle Allen is not their quarterback come 2023. I mark my words. This is the NFL, man. People can see right through a hot streak. Baker Mayfield took his team to the damn playoffs and won a playoff game, and they wanted to get rid of him. And you think Kyle Allen going 8-8 is going to get him to be a franchise guy? No way in hell. It doesn't make any sense to me. They should have just let Davis Mills ride the season out and then move on from him. But instead, now they're playing this quarterback carousel. And to me, it's to save face in the locker room, to say I'm doing something to change why we're losing.
Yeah, I think they're just stalling. In reality, I think they're just stalling until they.
Yeah, that's my point.
Until they can draft CJ Stroud, I think that's it. I think
either way, just give the ball to Dameon Pierce. Babe Ruth!
Hey, there it is. Dolphins on the other side of this. They're good at football. They're riding a win streak as well. The longest active win streak in the NFL right now with 4 games. Texans longest active losing streak at 5 games. It continues. Both those streaks continue in this game. Do you want to
No,
say anything
I
about
honestly didn't even want to be this long on this game. The fact of the matter, I was going to come on here and say Dolphins win 35 16. Sure.
Yeah, a lot to a little in this game for the Miami Dolphins against Houston Texans. I will also go 31 to 31-15 Dolphins. The Chicago Bears traveling to New Jersey. I don't want to say New York. I want to say New York every time I say the Jets, but they're not in New Jersey or not in New York. The Bears, the Jets. What we would have thought to be able to see Zach Wilson and Justin Fields battle it out, two young quarterbacks. That is not the case in this one. After the recent comments from Zach Wilson on Monday or on Sunday following the Jets loss, it stirred up some controversy. I'm sure you guys have seen it all week. Now the Jets will be turning their giving their quarterback keys to Mike White, leading the way. It'll be Mike White and hopefully Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears battling it out. Aaron, we just talked about Kyle Allen and if he brings any change to the Texans offense. That was more of a joke conversation. This one might be a little bit more real and might have a little bit more importance because the Jets are right there in the thick of the playoff race in the AFC. They go through a quarterback change in the midst of it after the 10-3 loss to the Patriots. What changes do you see coming with the Mike White-led New York Jets?
Nothing. I don't know. I'm confused. I thought it would be Joe Flacco. I like the Joe Flacco move a lot better than I do the Mike White. I don't know why you would go away from the veteran here. Who has the playoff experience and that stuff. Mike White to me is not a good quarterback. Not that Zach Wilson was good either, because he wasn't. But I don't know. I think this is more of a lateral move than anything. I would have rather seen Joe Flacco come in and play. So I can't really speak to this. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Mike White. I haven't seen him this year. All we have is some fake proof from last year where he comes in, throws 6 touchdowns or whatever it was, and is labeled, the next coming, and then back on the bench. Where he kind of belongs. So the Jets just got to run the football and play good defense, and then the quarterback not screw it up. That's really what it's about. But they got to start finding ways to get the ball to Garrett Wilson and some of these offensive weapons. Although I wouldn't mind if Garrett Wilson just didn't catch a ball for the rest of the year because I just traded him. But yeah. No, I'm not a fan of Mike White. I think it should have been Joe Flacco. But the Jets are a good football team that's just searching for a quarterback.
Yeah. Statistically, like with the Jets since the start of last season, Mike White has been the better quarterback out of the three. 67% completion rating, averages 7.2 yards per attempt, only has a 3% sack percentage. All three better statistics than both Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson since
what
last
is that
season.
sample size like?
Since last season, so that was how many games did they play? I'd have to go back and because it's not in my notes. But I think
you understand what I'm saying.
Like what the sample say, how many games they played, how many games did those guys start? Right, that's what you're asking.
Mike White only played in 3 games. So
yeah,
when you take a sample size,
how many games has Joe Flacco played?
More than 3. I mean, like you can't. These sample sizes are too little to look at. Oh, actually, Joe Flacco's played exactly 3 too. Oh gosh. Well, that I guess you should. Joe Flacco's played in 3 this year.
No, I get that. No, and this is why I preface with what I said with, in a Jets uniform, Mike White has been the better quarterback in the Robert Saleh era. He's been the better quarterback.
Yeah, but Joe Flacco has played in 7 games in the Jets uniform. Mike White's played in 3. And that's so you take a sample size of Joe Flacco from 2 years ago when he wasn't that good. Let's take Joe Flacco from this season. This one season, Joe Flacco, 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. Why did he not get the next opportunity?
So let me ask you. Let me ask you this. I'm on your side when it comes to, like, I would have. We talked about this on Monday when we were talking about the benching of Zach Wilson. We said that it should be Joe Flacco that's the starter. They ended up going with Mike White, though. Do you think we end up seeing Joe Flacco be the starting quarterback for the Jets at season end?
I hope so. I can't say for certain, but I hope so. Like, didn't Mike White throw 5 touchdowns in a game?
Yes, something
Like
like
that.
Yeah, he had a huge game against. He had a huge game last season. I'll double check.
You know how many career touchdowns Mike White has? 5. He had one good game. He had a Matt Flynn game, and now we're all of a sudden just like I don't get it. I'm confused as what Mike White has done. Maybe in practice he's done something special.
He did not have a 5 touchdown game last season. He had a 3 touchdown game last season against the Bengals when they defeated the Bengals. He had a 1 touchdown game against the Colts and a 1 touchdown game against the New England Patriots. He threw 4 interceptions against the Buffalo Bills.
So I'm confused then. I'm really confused. So because he beat the Bengals in week 7 of last year, where he threw 3 touchdowns and 2 picks, and he threw for 400 yards. That's what it was.
In that game, he threw for 405.
He wasn't good. Yeah. He wasn't good last year.
Well, to me, when you look, and we got to move on from this game. This is way too long talking about the Jets quarterback situation here. But when you look at it, in my opinion, the Jets are right there on the cusp of being a playoff team, and you need the quarterback that's going to give you the least amount of risk, in my opinion. That's what it comes down to. And I think that's what Joe Flacco brings. He brings that security, that guy that, okay, and you can trust him to be able to get the ball to your receivers when you need it to Garrett Wilson, and then be able just to hand it off when you're running the ball. Like, just a simple type of offense. And you don't want Mike White in there to turn the ball over and be that 4 turnover type of guy when it comes down to it, because the Jets, they don't have a cakewalk of a schedule when it comes to playing secondaries the rest of the year. They face some of the best secondaries in the NFL in their next coming games in terms of, let me just take a look here. In their next games through the rest of the season, they've got the Bears, the Vikings, the Bills. The Lions have been turning the ball over a lot. They have the Seahawks that have been doing well against the forcing turnovers. The Dolphins, like, these are secondaries that are going to be forcing turnovers, and you don't want a quarterback in there that can turn the ball over. And that is what Mike White has been. We've seen him do with his 4. We've talked a lot about this. This is unbelievable. I can't believe what we're doing right now. We're never going to finish this show.
Mike White should not be starting for the New York Jets. It should be Joe Flacco. I think we're on board there. I don't know why this decision happened, but maybe he's doing something in practice. Either way, who are the Jets playing? The Jets are playing the Bears.
Yes, and I want something from you, and we'll see if this gets clipped. Justin Fields in this game, battling a left shoulder injury, was talked about a lot at the end of the game on Sunday about this shoulder injury being very concerning. It turns out he might play. He's on the verge. Aaron, give me your fantasy take for Justin Fields this week as the game time decision looms for him playing or not.
You said it was a left shoulder?
Left shoulder.
He's right-handed, right?
That is correct.
Shoulder's not a leg, right? So he can run?
That is accurate.
Oh, yeah. Put Justin Fields in your lineup. That's it. There's no analysis here. If Justin Fields is on the field, he's playing. Left shoulder, he can throw the ball with his right shoulder. And he's got legs. They're fine, so let him run. Justin Fields is an elite fantasy option. You're starting Justin Fields every week, no matter what. Matter of fact, I'm trying to trade him, so if you want him, come get him. If not, you're lost.
This guy. It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's very simple. Justin Fields is an elite fantasy option.
So he's your it's confidence. It's you have all confidence.
It's his left shoulder, which means guess what? As long as he can throw the football and run the football, I'm taking it. I said the same thing about Josh Allen when people were worried about Josh Allen and his arm. Yeah, are there going to be some things that he might spike one in the dirt? He might not throw the ball. He might throw an interception. Sure. So what? He's an elite fantasy option. You don't have time to overthink it right now. It is what it is right now. You go with your guys, go with your studs. Don't be Vinny. This is fantasy football. Don't be Vinny. Don't make a decision solely based on because they play the 6th ranked rush defense. Nobody gives a shit about what your schedule looks like. If you're a dude, you are a dude. You put him in your lineup. You don't trade Ken Walker because he has a tough playoff schedule. Ken Walker should be on your roster right now.
but I got AJ Brown out of it, and I got Josh Allen.
Do you want to talk about the other guys you traded?
I mean, I'd rather not. I felt good about that trade. I feel good about that trade. I'm not, and I, unlike you, have to be honest with myself because you talk about Justin Fields. He doesn't have a great playoff schedule. Okay, he does not have a great playoff schedule, and you don't know for certain that is going to be able to. He's going to be able to hold up during your fantasy championships. You are not as scared as I am, man.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because you probably were the same person like, oh, Justin Fields against New England on a Monday night. Tough matchup. Was he good? Dropped 20-plus fantasy points. Oh, Dallas Cowboys, one of the best defenses in the league. What did he do to them? 20-plus fantasy points.
I was a year early on Justin Fields. Last year, I don't know if you remember this, I drafted Ryan Tannehill and Justin Fields as my quarterbacks last year, and it failed. It failed. He hurt me.
Not the point.
He hurt me.
The point here is the matchups. He's done it to New England. He's done it to Dallas. There is no better defense in the Dallas Cowboys in football right now. There's no better defense. And he dropped how many fantasy points on them? That's the point. And they got blown out. Fantasy football is not real football. You can have a great defense and still give up fantasy points. That's the difference.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how the season ends. Okay, we'll see it because you and I are set to clash in the championship at this rate.
No, first of all, you know it's not about your team. Your team's good. Your team is good.
Oh, I know
that's not the point. The point is the fantasy advice that we give on this show, especially as we transition to a fantasy-heavy show. Because what we are now, we are the fantasy, the new fantasy. If we are going to give advice, we need to help people win their championships. Yeah. We have to stop overthinking fantasy football. The lines get very blurry between fantasy and real football. People will tell you the Dallas Cowboys can't stop the run. They're number 3 against the rush defense in rushing fantasy football, giving up points to the running back. If you can't decipher the difference, then you need to listen. And listening means listening to us.
That is true. But I'm not, and don't hear what I'm not saying though. I'm not saying because of Justin Fields' tough matchup, I'm trying to put someone lesser than Justin Fields in my lineup. I would like if I were to choose, I would consider Justin Herbert over Justin Fields at the end of the season because the matchups, because of him, because the Chargers getting healthier and the matchups that Justin Herbert has. I'm not talking about going out and getting a Russell Wilson because his playoff schedule is better than Justin Fields. That's not where I'm at here.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm not saying trade Justin Fields for peanuts because his schedule is bad. But I'm saying you do have to be concerned with playoff matchups when it comes to winning and losing your championship.
That's the difference. I think that's where we differ. Justin Herbert is not even in the same stratosphere as Justin Fields. The drop-off is that the potential, the facts, what he's done, it's not even in the same stratosphere. You're talking about quarterback 5 to quarterback 12 on the course of a season. There's no way that you're taking Justin Herbert because he has great playoff matchups over Justin Fields because he has bad ones. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Not happening.
Week 15 against the Eagles. Week 16 against the Bills. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. What does that mean? What does that mean? Jared Goff just was going off against the Bills. What does that actually mean?
In the NFL, let's talk about this. The Eagles are number 1 against the quarterback in terms of fantasy football this year. They're number 1. That's tough. Out the gate.
Let me ask you this question.
The Bills,
how many quarterbacks have they played that look like Justin Fields? That do what Justin Fields does.
I would have to go through their schedule. I don't know what quarterbacks they've played. I don't know what quarterbacks they've played.
They haven't. They played. You know who they played? They've played Cooper freaking Rush, Taylor Heineke, Kirk Cousins, Kenny Pickett, Davis Mills. That's my point.
But that could be my point back to you. We have not seen whether or not this could happen. And if you want to, you have the numbers right in front of you. Whether it's a great quarter, whether they've played great quarterbacks or not, the numbers are right in front of you that they have played well against the quarterback position. And then
that's my point. There has to be context.
Let's talk about the run. Let's talk about the run because that's what Justin Fields can do as well. The Eagles are 18th against the run.
Let me tell you this. You know what the one running quarterback that played against Philly did? It was Kyler Murray, and it was back in week 1. And he threw, I can't even read. 28 of 42, 250 yards, touchdown and a pick. He only had 4 carries that game for 42 yards. scored 18 fantasy points. And that's Kyler Murray on 4 carries. The only quarterback that they played, he was quarterback 12 that week. That's the only rushing quarterback they played. He was QB1.
That's not good. That's not good though. QB 12 is not that good though. That is borderline not a starting quarterback.
See, this is what happens when you take context out of conversation.
But if you can get Justin Herbert against a bad matchup in your playoffs that finishes as a QB 7, that's better than the QB 12, is it not?
That's if he finishes as QB 12. You show me a game where Justin Fields has had 4 carries and averaging 10 yards a carry.
But you show me a game that Justin Fields has done the passing that Justin Herbert has done.
What?
Show me a game where Justin Fields has passed like Justin Herbert.
You talk about Justin Herbert against Atlanta, the matchup that's the best matchup. No AJ Terrell, no Casey Hayward. He finished with 13 points. Against San Francisco, 13 points. Against Denver, 9. Against Cleveland, 14.
But this is the potential, though, with now Keenan Allen back in the lineup and potentially Mike Williams.
I'm only using Justin Herbert as an example. Your playoff matchups that were so good are Tennessee, Indy, and the Rams. The last time I checked, Tennessee has been playing really well.
26th against fantasy quarterbacks.
That's fine. A lot of those games, again, let's put context into it. Weren't they not early in the season? Because
they were. You're right.
We watched what Patrick Mahomes just did. We watched what Aaron Rodgers wasn't able to do. So where's the context to what you're saying? This is why I tell people not to just look at the playoff matchups, because it's easy to look and say they're 5th against this, they're 16th against that. But where's the context in that? Justin Herbert hasn't been good this year. And those easy matchups are based on things that have already happened. In fantasy, what do I always tell you? Stop. You don't get the points that have already happened. You have to look ahead. That's all I'm saying. So, and that's what I'm saying. I'm looking ahead and seeing that the potential for better days in fantasy are there with the better playoff matches. I will be willing to bet you this, that if Justin Fields and Justin Herbert are healthy in these games, that in weeks 15, 16, 17, that it's not even close. That Justin Fields is here and Justin Herbert's here. I'm talking quarterback top 5 to bottom 12 to 15.
We'll place that bet. We'll place that bet. We'll do that.
I'm not even close.
We'll figure out the parameters of this bet and get into that.
When you start looking up your fantasy numbers, go look at the top quarterbacks in this league. And if you're out, and the quarterbacks who run the football will always be at the top. Always.
That I don't disagree with. That I don't disagree with. But we had a game.
Herbert doesn't run.
We had a game that we were talking about. The New York Jets and the Chicago Bears is what we were originally talking about. The Jets are favorites in this one, 4.5 points. Over under is just 39.5. Who do you have winning this one?
Who are we picking?
Jets, Bears. Should I restart this entire thing?
No. I'll take the Jets in this one. They're at home. Oof. 23-21.
19-17 Jets at home. I think they get the win. I think it's another close one for the Bears, but they are unable to finish it. And Mike White continues to get dubs for the New York Jets. The Baltimore Ravens at 7-3 travel to Jacksonville to take on the 3-7 Jaguars. Ravens favorites in this one by 4 points with an over-under of 43.5. Aaron, the Jaguars enter this game with a great point differential in the NFL, plus 11 in terms of point differential this season, still yet with a 3-7 record. They have a better point differential than most of the teams in the AFC South and most of the teams in the NFL, but still finding ways to lose. They're a young team. We talk about it all the time. On the flip side, Lamar Jackson, 23-3 in his career against teams under 500. It's a good matchup for Lamar. It's a tough matchup for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do we expect? Let's actually talk. Let's talk specifics here instead of me just asking, what do we expect? Lamar Jackson over the last 3 weeks has not been phenomenal. It hasn't been easy for Lamar Jackson. He's been without Rashad Bateman, banged up Mark Andrews. Last week they were able to get the win, but it was only a 13-3 win against Carolina. They've been kind of squeaking out those wins. but wins are wins. Where are we at with the Ravens? Like, I know, I feel like your answer is going to be very easy to me because you're like, it's Lamar Jackson, it's the Ravens, I don't give a shit. But give me some analysis here on why we shouldn't give a shit on on what we're seeing from the Ravens.
Because when you say things like he hasn't looked that good, you used that term earlier in the season too. You're comparing it to what he looked like the first 3 weeks of the season. But that's not what the Ravens are. It's not the Ravens' game plan. That's not what they do. That's not what they want to do. They are this type of football team. The numbers will rarely, especially in the passing game, stand out. I feel like Lamar's played well. Lamar plays well when he doesn't turn the football over. And when we talk about turnovers in the last 4 games, he's thrown 1 pick, and it doesn't matter how many touchdowns, like 2, 3, I don't know what he's done. But they run the football a ton, so that's going to be a part of it. You also have to take into consideration his rushing ability and his rushing yards. That counts as his production. I don't judge Baltimore the same way I judge Kansas City. It's not the same way I judge the 49ers or the Buffalo Bills. They are a different football team. Their scheme is different. They are a heavy 2 tight end personnel team. They want to beat you 13-3. They want to beat you 16-13. They're not out here trying to beat you 38-3 like Kansas City. Like, that's not their game plan. It's not what they do. They're not built that way, and they know that. I use this all the time. Identity is everything in the NFL. Identity is everything. You have to know who you are. In the Baltimore Ravens, there is no team that knows who they are more than the Baltimore Ravens, and they live that, and they're okay with that. They win ugly. They don't care. The win is a win for them. This is not, Josh Allen's playing bad. He's throwing red zone picks. It doesn't matter. Lamar can throw red zone picks if they get the win. That's Lamar. Like, they have built this team so it can sustain and withstand stuff like that. And people don't like it because it looks ugly. And so the first thing we say is, well, they're not playing well. I would argue they are playing well. The defense is playing extremely well, and Lamar Jackson is making enough plays to win football games. So I could care less. I couldn't care less what the numbers say, because at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson is a game changer, and that offense, when they need it, he's able to do it, and they're able to win. And you look at it, they're sitting atop the AFC North, which is a tough division, and they're in a good spot in the playoffs and going to be one of the tough teams to beat.
I guess when you talk about saying, okay, the stats, it does not, like, they know their identity. Lamar Jackson, 5th worst passer rating in the NFL since week 4 this season, hasn't. But like you said, it's not about the It's not about the passing with Lamar. Like that, it doesn't matter. Like, it will never be about the passing with Lamar Jackson. Okay, it will never be about it. Since
week 4, they lost 1 game.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. And the Ravens' second easiest remaining strength of schedule in terms of win percentage against their opponent's win percentage. Like, it's not going to be struggles for the Ravens moving forward. And when you look at the stats, it's like, okay, it does not matter when it comes to the Ravens. Like, this team, you have to judge them a little differently. But in the playoffs, it might matter. But specifically with this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that's 3-7, Aaron, how do the Jaguars what do they have to do to pull off the upset?
Well, they can't turn the football over. And right now, Baltimore's doing a really good job defensively. They're getting healthy at the right time. Marcus Williams is supposed to be back. It's going to be tough. That's tough sledding against a tough defense. I think Jacksonville has to lean on play action a lot. You want to get an aggressive defense, especially like Baltimore's, to move side to side, to bite for fakes. And then Trevor Lawrence has to be accurate with the football, but he has to be decisive. Can't hold on to the football against this defense. They're going to be coming after him, and they will capitalize on those mistakes. So it's got to be a clean football game for Jacksonville, very similar to what I say the Giants have to play every week. They have to play for sure this week. They cannot turn the football over. They have to probably steal a possession from Baltimore to maybe get something out of special teams from Jamal Agnew, a big play there, something like that, to kind of turn the tides of the games. But overall, it's going to be tough sledding for them. I think Baltimore's on a roll right now. They're feeling good about themselves, winners of 4 straight. And like you said, the schedule down the stretch, pretty easy for the most part. A lot of division games. They do got 4 division games left, which makes it a little harder than it looks when it comes to that strength of schedule. 3 of them on the road, so there is that. But I think that Baltimore's in a good spot right now, and I'll just give my prediction now. I think Baltimore wins this game 24-17.
Yeah, I think I also think this is a Baltimore win. I have it 27-24 or 27-23. for Baltimore in this one. Something that needs to be brought up. This is the return of the mayor. This is a revenge game for the mayor. Revenge game for Calais Campbell returning to Jacksonville. He was the mayor of Saxonville during that 2017 run. He's going to get 2 sacks in this game on Trevor Lawrence. Book it. Put your money on it right now. Calais Campbell, 2 sacks on Trevor Lawrence. Give it to the mayor. Very well loved in Jacksonville. But it will be a tough day for the Jags as they lose yet another one, or as we're predicting them to lose another one, dropping them to 3-8. 27-23 on my end. Clean sweep for the Ravens as a whole over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh no. Oh no. What's that TikTok song? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. The Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Los Angeles Rams. This is a game that before the season started, we would have looked at this game and we would have highlighted it on our schedules. We would have marked it down. We were like, okay, Rams, Chiefs, Super Bowl potential matchup right here, but it's not like that. Actually, how that it has not played out that way during this season. The Rams entered this one 3-7. The Chiefs doing what they were expected to do, but the Rams on the other side not doing it. 3-7. The Chiefs have this is the largest spread this week as well. The Chiefs are 14.5-point favorites over the Rams. The over-under is 44 points. We're not expecting to see Matthew Stafford in this game. It'll be Bryce Perkins leading the way for the Rams at the quarterback position. It's in Kansas City. A lot of factors are going against the Rams here, Aaron. A lot of new quarterbacks this week. It'll be Bryce Perkins as the new quarterback for the Rams. I would ask, what do you think is going to be different about it? But we don't know, right? We don't know what's going to be different. You're on mute.
Sorry. I actually have I as the resident Chiefs, specifically Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes lover, I wanted it to be Matt Stafford. If I'm a Chiefs guy, if I'm the Chiefs, I wanted it to be Matt Stafford. The one thing there is no answer for in this league is running quarterbacks, and Bryce Perkins has more mobility than Matt Stafford behind that offensive line. You might actually see a better quarterback, and I think this is why it is Bryce Perkins and they didn't look elsewhere, is because I do think that they understand that their offensive line is bad. That if you're a statue like Matt Stafford often is, he's Matt Stafford can move in the pocket, but he's not a runner. You need something else, and I think Bryce Perkins gives them that. We got to remember Bryce Perkins was a guy in college who at Virginia ran for nearly 1,600 yards as a quarterback. So that he has the mobility, and I think that could give Kansas City fits, especially early in the game. When you're not expecting it. Matt Stafford's been the quarterback there now for a year. You probably were game planning for him early in the season when you marked this on your schedule. You probably had your scouts and all that stuff looking at Matt Stafford. Now you had to kind of switch. There's not a lot of tape on Bryce Perkins outside of some preseason games and what he's done. So early on, I think this could hurt Kansas City defensively and maybe get the Rams some things going. But overall, the Rams don't stand a chance in this game. The line is what it is for a reason. I even had to throw a jab at Sheriff Joe Branham. Shout out Sheriff Joe. But he said it's disrespectful to have a line that's like, no, it's not. This is one of those games. It's not disrespectful. You know what's disrespectful is the way the Rams play football right now. That's disrespectful. They're the reigning defending Super Bowl champs. Playing the way they're playing is disrespectful. I don't need a whole lot in this one. You got 1-5, you got 8-7, you got big boy cheeseburger Andy Reid. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs in this one, a lot to a little, 38-13.
Yeah, not much analysis on this one in terms of this game. This is something that, like I said, we had highlighted in on our schedules at the beginning of the season. We've quickly erased that highlight because it's not going to be that close of a game. The Chiefs are very good. The Rams are very bad. No defending Super Bowl champion has ever been a 14-point underdog in the regular season following their Super Bowl win. Until now, the Chiefs have won 25 straight in the months of November and December. Make it 26. The Chiefs win this one 31-14. Did you already give your prediction?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that 25 in a row in November, December, because eventually it's going to end.
That
And
can
it's
come
probably
in December.
It's probably going to end on some stupid ass game like this where the Chiefs are their backup quarterback, and then they find themselves down 17, 14 late in the game.
You know how hyped I was on Bryce Perkins at the beginning during that preseason, man.
God.
You know how hyped I was on Bryce Perkins. Bring me the perk. Give me some more perk. I'd rather
have Bryce Perkins in fantasy this week than Justin Herbert.
We're going to talk about that. Well, yeah, no,
I just wanted to see what you were going to say.
I wouldn't say no to that. I don't think I would say no to that. I would. I don't think I'd have the balls to start Bryce Perkins over Justin Herbert, but I don't think that
was a joke. Fantasy football fans, please do not take what I just said seriously. It was a joke. If you start Bryce Perkins over Justin Herbert, you're an idiot.
I just picked up Bryce Perkins in my dynasty league. Might start him over Andy Dalton this week. That might be a thing. You never know. All right, you've given your prediction, right?
Yes, Vincent.
I've given my prediction. It's clean sweep for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's move on to our next game. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The Steelers 3-7, the Colts 4-6-1. This is your Monday Night Football game of the week. We get to see Kenny Baby Hands Pickett against Matt the Statue Ryan. The Colts are 2.5-point favorites with an over/under of just 39 points here in this one. The Steelers offense, Aaron, has been playing well as of late with Kenny Pickett, and you've actually given a little bit of praise to Pickett over the past few weeks for what they've been able to do. Last week, putting up 30 points against the Cincinnati Bengals in that division matchup. They kept it close in terms of the score. They were unable to get the win. What's that next level for the Pittsburgh Steelers? You think they obviously got TJ Watt back. That's a game changer on the defensive side of the ball. But what do you think that next step is for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And do you think that they could take that next step in this game against the Colts?
No, this is a rebuild process, a retool process with the addition of a new quarterback. I think Kenny Pickett can continue to grow. I think that's really what you're looking for here. I say this all the time. When you have a new young quarterback, you're just trying to have him go through as many things as possible. You want him to see every defense. You want him to make his mistakes. You want him to have to overcome adversity. You want him to see him in 2-minute drill. You want to see him have to come from behind. You want to see him get ahead and have to keep a lead. As many situations as Kenny Pickett can be in, you want that. So you're hoping for another adverse situation this week, whatever that situation may be, and how Kenny Pickett can see it, grow from it, and move forward. This is a long-term play for Pittsburgh. You're at the point now, you're 3-8. This season is a wrap. They're not good enough to win this year. And I believe a guy there's no other coach who's more self-aware than Mike Tomlin. And I think he knows that. And so for him, he wants to win every game, but he also understands what the goal is. The goal is for Kenny Pickett to step on that field next year and have an opportunity to lead this team to the playoffs. And I think it can happen in year 2 if everything is right around him, if they go and address that offensive line, if he's experienced what he needs to experience and grown from that experience. So right now it's just about seeing every different thing. Now he gets to play on Monday Night Football. Now everybody's going to be watching. It's not one of these games where it's at 10 a.m. on a or 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. on a Sunday where it's only Steelers fans and it's only Colts fans. This is going to be Monday Night Football. Everybody's going to be watching Kenny Pickett. Big stage, regardless of how bad these teams are. It's prime time, and we talk about quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones who are terrible in prime time. We're going to want to see now what you do in prime time when everybody's watching, when you're supposed to play well. So this is another adverse situation he's going to have to go through, and I think it's just building character for him going forward. But I have been impressed with what I've seen from Kenny Pickett, and I wasn't a Kenny Pickett fan. I always thought those baby hands were a little small, a little soft, and I wasn't sure he was going to be able to play quarterback in this league. But what I've seen from him, I've actually liked. Talk about leadership, what Zach Wilson is unable to do. Kenny Pickett has shown he's been that kind of a leader. The one thing I do think, and this may be a chemistry thing, and maybe next year it'll be better, I do think he needs to go, especially to Deontay Johnson, who just got paid, and he needs to develop that rapport, whatever that is. Whatever's that disconnect is between him and Deontay Johnson, and he needs to build that, and that needs to be a focus of his. Because it looks like coming in as a rookie, he's already kind of had that with George Pickens, and they feel comfortable, but Pickens was a rookie, so it was easy to do. You've had Deontay play with Big Ben. He's been used to doing things a certain way. I think those two need to get on the same page. If that can happen, you have a very dynamic receiving core and a young guy that's going to have some nice weapons because he already has a good connection with Pat Freiermuth as well. So I look for that for Pittsburgh going forward, and I actually think this is a good spot for them on Monday night to get a win on the road.
Yeah, they are on the road though against the Colts now, 4-6-1. Jeff Saturday 1-1 in the games that he has now coached with the Indianapolis Colts after being named the interim coach in replacement of Frank Reich. Last week was a battle against the Philadelphia Eagles. They kept it close. It was 17-16 in a loss, but they kept it close over a very good Eagles team. Came close to winning it. They did not. In this one, what do we expect to see in game 3 of the Jeff Saturday era?
Some of the same. Good defense, running game.
Okay.
Matt Ryan being a veteran, going to ask not to do a whole lot, but make throws when it matters. And I think this is another close game. I think they'll stay close in this one. I think that's just the style, the way the Colts want to play. But they're not a very good football team. So
are you taking the Steelers?
I am. I'm taking the Steelers in this one. I will take them 20-17.
Yep. I don't hate that pick. I really don't. I think it's a close game as well. Steelers 3-7 this season, their worst 10-game start since 2003. That kind of makes me think that it's going to be a Steelers win as well. I think that Mike Tomlin is a really good coach. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I don't mean to hop on board with what you said, but give me the Steelers here as well. 19-17 on a Monday Night Football snooze fest. That's what I don't mean to say snooze fest because low scoring games. I know you get on to me about that all the time.
Yes.
But I think it's a 19-17 game. Steelers win. Push them to 4-7. Let's shift gears, Aaron. Let's go to the NFC. Let's start previewing those matchups. The 5-6 Falcons travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. The 6-5 Manders are favorites in this game by 4.5 points with an over-under of 42. The Commanders are right there in the thick of it in the playoff race in the NFC. A win here puts them one step closer, right behind the New York Giants and the rest of that wild card pack that's in the NFC. They're starting to go into win now mode, or not win now mode, but win every game. Every game counts. Falcons are also right there as well at 5-6. A win here puts them right there with the Commanders. Aaron, I know at the beginning of the season I asked this more and more and more, or I asked this and you gave me shit about it. It was like, who must win games? Like it's 3 games into the season. Must win games don't happen yet. Are we approaching that? Can I ask that question here?
No. Not in the NFC. I don't think so. When you're talking about
game counts, though.
Well, just because every game counts doesn't mean it's a must win. You look at both of these teams; they're sitting 8th and 9th. Washington's only got 5 losses, so technically they're a half a game back of New York and Seattle for the final playoff spots. Washington still plays the Giants twice. No, you can't really say it's a must-win game. They would control their own destiny to get in the playoffs, even if they lost this game. You know what I mean? So, and outside of Atlanta and Washington, there is nobody else really in the NFC that is looking at playoffs. So you're really talking about 9 teams for 7 spots. No, I don't. I think it's too early to talk about must-win for either one of these teams.
I think
Atlanta's playing in a division. Atlanta's playing in a division where they're a game back of first place. I don't see how you can look at this and say this is a must win at whatever team that loses is out of the playoffs.
I don't think you can say that whatever team loses is out of the playoffs, but I do think this is a must win game for the Atlanta Falcons sitting there at 5-6. Like you said, the division is right there up for grabs, but we've talked about where the Buccaneers sit in terms of their play and how they're figuring themselves out. They're getting hotter. And if you lose this game, you then fall right there behind everyone else. Obviously you fall right there behind everyone else, but you don't the Commanders are fortunate if they do play the Giants those 2 times. there's no one ahead of the Falcons that they are fortunate enough to play those 2 times to where, okay, they control their own destiny. I think the Falcons have to win this game because at season's end, if the Commanders and the Falcons are right there neck and neck battling for the last playoff spot, you look back on this game and say, oh man, if only they could have beaten the Commanders to get that last playoff spot. Because if these 2 teams tie in record, that's what it comes down to. That head-to-head matchup right here.
You're saying that they're going to be bad. You're saying that they possibly could be battling with each other. What about Seattle? What about the Giants? We just lamented how tough their schedules are.
Which is more reason why the Falcons need to win. Like almost every game from here on out for the Falcons is a win now, is a must-win game.
When you look at the Giants and the Seahawks schedule and where they're at now, and this would put Atlanta at 7 wins or 7 losses. Are you now saying that 10-7 couldn't get you into the playoffs?
I'm not saying 10-7 can't get you into the playoffs.
Are you telling me what is the record going to be of that number 7 seed going into the playoffs?
9-8,
probably 8-9 or 9-8.
Yeah.
So if that's what we're saying, then this can't be a must-win game.
Well, that's that. If the Falcons lose, then that would put them at 5-7. And that's 1 win, 1 loss away from it being okay. Like,
okay, you would even another loss would be 8, and if you run the table, you're 9-8, and 9-8 would probably going to get you into the playoffs in the NFC, just because of all the stuff that still has to sort itself out. When we look at the regular season, we see there's 6 games left. Oh no, we're running out of time. But how much of that 6 games is things are going to happen? The Commanders have a bunch of division games against the Giants. The Giants have a tough-ass schedule. We talked about the Seahawks and what they have to go through being in their division and what they're going to have to do. They haven't played that well as of late either. They still have teams like the Niners, the Chiefs on their schedule. Like, there are games that are going to matter later that I feel like are must-win games. I don't know that you can call that a must-win game.
But you look at and maybe I'm a week early of a must-win game, but you look at their stretch after that bye, New Orleans, at New Orleans, at Baltimore, and then Arizona and Tampa. Like, those are
Baltimore's the only team I really fear.
I mean, I would fear Tampa, and I guess I don't know if I'd fear Arizona.
But would you fear Tampa if they are not playing for the division anymore?
Oh, that's fair.
And they're resting their starters. Like, so these games, there's still so much that has to be played out. And I'm not saying you have to say it's a must-win only if it's mathematically, because I agree with you. I think that's kind of the obvious, right? It's not mathematical. But I do feel like with the schedules of the Giants and the Seahawks, we're still, let's be honest, we're still questioning the Seahawks. The Commanders we're unsure of. I just think it's a little early to say this is a must-win game. I feel like the team that gets into the playoffs at the number 7 seed probably going to be 9-8. And yeah, I think Atlanta has a week to play with here. And I think Washington probably has 2 weeks to play with here. So
okay, that's fair.
If Washington loses this game, it's less severe for them because they do play the Giants a couple of times than it is for the Falcons. But I still think the Falcons are in a good spot if they lose this week.
I'm going to hold you to this then. So if they lose next week, I'm going to from here on out say it's a must-win. Ask you the question, is it a must-win game for the Falcons from here on out? If they lose this week, I'm going to hold you to it and be very happy that I can say it's a must-win game for the Falcons because mathematically, and by your logic today, you said it's a must-win game. So I'm going to hold you to that. I'm holding you to it whether you like it or not. All right. So when we look at this game on paper between the Commanders and the Falcons here, Commanders entering this game 5-1 since week 6. It's the best record in the NFL since that time. They've been riding high with Taylor Heineke, who has led them to these victories over the past few weeks. He's been a very good change for this. They're going to continue riding with him. What do you expect to see? What do we expect to see in this game then? What do we expect to see?
Atlanta's going to run the football. Atlanta's going to try to run the football, but I think this is strength on strength. We talked about that Washington front and what they're able to do with Allen and Gerard, and Payne, and now you're getting Chase Young back. I think that defensive front is really good. So Atlanta's going to have to be able to do something in the passing game to secure a win. Obviously, now without Kyle Pitts, that makes it even harder. They're losing one of their best weapons, probably their best weapon. So it's going to be heavily relied upon Marcus Mariota and the play action, maybe getting out in space and running the ball for him, as well as finding guys like Drake London, Olamide Zaccheaus, and then Damiere Byrd and those guys down the football field. So it's going to be tough for Atlanta. I think this is a good matchup for Washington, just the way the matchup is. Give me Washington here. I think they're playing hot. They believe, and I believe Washington's at home, right?
Yep.
Because I'm not going to the game, so they must be at home. Yeah, and Atlanta only seems to win when they're at home and with me at the game. So give me Washington in this one, 24-20.
Yeah, give me 28-24 Commanders here. The Falcons have an NFL high 8 games decided by 6 points or fewer this season. Add another one to that list as they fall, and it's a clean sweep for both of us. There's the Commanders defeating the Atlanta Falcons. The Denver Broncos traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers, the 3-7 Broncos, the 3-8 Panthers. Broncos favorites in this one by 2.5 points with an ugly, absolutely disgusting. This might be the most disgusting over-under this season. Right now, the current over-under is 36 points here between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. By far the lowest over-under this week. I'll have to go and check and see if this is the lowest over-under that we've seen this season. But Baker Mayfield against Russell Wilson in this one. 2 offenses that have been struggling, that have been gross, that have been disgusting. The Broncos made the change this week in releasing Melvin Gordon. Now it's Latavius Murray's backfield. Not sure how much that plays into this game, but I know it upsets you talking about the rushing attack for the Denver Broncos because of what could have been, what would have been, what should have been with Javonte Williams. But this one, Broncos, Panthers. Aaron, I heard this the other day, and I'm gonna pose this question to you. I know where we stand with Russell Wilson and his Hall of Fame status, and I know where you stand with that and saying that it's non-existent and it shouldn't be existent. If I don't mean to put it all on one game, but this one game could be a microcosm of this season if the Broncos lose. Am I wrong?
I mean, I think we're past that. I think we're already past that. I think we're at the point of like.
You sound so dead.
I mean, we are. Why are we still? Why are we waiting? The Denver Broncos are 3-7. Like they're 3-7. What are we waiting for? We're past that. They're 2-6 in the conference. What? They're bad. This game means nothing. This game means nothing for Denver. Russell Wilson can go out and win. We're not going to care. They can go out and lose. Guess what? We're still not going to care. Like
I got to correct myself.
I got to
correct myself. I said Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold gets to start this week.
I was gonna get there too, but this game means nothing. This game means nothing in more ways than I can even count. It means absolutely nothing for both teams. 3-7 versus 3-8. This is one of those games towards the end of the season you're looking at saying, hey, what young guys are playing for jobs? What veterans are playing for contracts? Who wants to play football? Who doesn't? Who's going to get an opportunity to come out of nowhere and then all of a sudden shine and earn themselves a contract? This game means absolutely nothing. Whether Russell Wilson plays well, doesn't play well, we've already seen what he is in Denver this season. They're going to have to take a long look in the offseason and figure it out to come back ready for next year when they get guys back like Javonte Williams and Jerry Jeudy and those guys. So this is ugh. Just watching Denver play this year has been an atrocious train wreck. And it's funny how like the excuse of the coach will still be there, but nobody wants to own up to them just being wrong about Denver. We're wrong. We were wrong. Like we all thought Denver was going to be better. We all thought Denver was going to be something, some more so than others. Some had them as Super Bowl contenders, but we were all wrong. I had Denver winning 10 games. I was wrong. They're not a good football team. They have holes. They have problems at the quarterback position, head coach, and it's once again proves my theory correct. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much talent you have on a team. If you don't have the right fit, you don't have anything in the NFL. You don't have an identity. You don't have fit. None of it matters. Teams that have lost pieces got better. Like, think about that. And teams that have gained more talent got worse. Las Vegas, Denver, the Chargers. Basically the entire AFC
West except for Kansas City.
Yeah. So
well, the Kansas City Chiefs are the opposite side of that because they were the team that got that law. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They lost Tyrann Mathieu. They lost. Nobody even talks about that. They lost Charvarius Ward. Nobody wants to talk about that. They lost Tyreek Hill. No, I mean, we've talked about that. So outside of the Miami Dolphins, like, what team did we really make a big splash and has really stepped up and actually played up to that level? It's hard. We talk about rosters all the time, Cleveland Browns, and doesn't matter how many names you have on paper if you can't perform on the field. So this game is atrocious. I don't know why we're still talking about it. I'm going to predict here. Who's at home?
Carolina.
I'm taking Carolina in this game. Sam Darnold, stand up. Maybe he'll rush for a touchdown or something. Top 10 Sam Darnold, like Vinny said last year. Carolina wins this game. Carolina wins this game 13-10.
I was also hoping that you didn't go Carolina because I was going to shock the world, but it's not really shocking. Give me Carolina here as well. 20-17 Carolina. Gross. Gross. The Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Chargers enter this game 5-6. The Cardinals 4-7. The Chargers just one game out of a playoff spot in the AFC East, so still really grinding it out, trying to make their push. The Cardinals, on the other hand, sit close to last in the NFC West, a little bit farther out of the playoffs. But enter this game, dogs. Chargers 4.5-point favorites, over under of 47.5 here. Chargers going to have another game back with Keenan Allen here. But it's been Justin Herbert that I feel like has been the story this season, really, with the Chargers. Over the past 5 games, 6 total touchdowns, 6 turnovers for Justin Herbert. It's been tough sledding for him. You can throw the excuse out there not having his full cast of weapons, but we don't give that excuse for other quarterbacks, so we shouldn't be giving it for Justin Herbert here. He's not been playing that great. The Chargers haven't been playing that great. They're coming off a loss against the Chiefs last week, a tough, tight game loss. This one here on the road in Arizona, not a whole lot of travel, but Aaron, what do you hope to see from the Chargers in this game?
A win. Make it very clear, a win. Like, I'm over the breaking down the Chargers, and this is because we all marvel at the arm talent of Justin Herbert and Derwin James, and I know Joey Bosa's out and Keenan Allen's back healthy, but no Mike Williams. We talk about all the things that go on with the Chargers, but I just want to see one simple thing. It's the same thing I said with Denver early in the season when they were talking about let's ride. I was like, no, let's win. I just want to see you win the football game. Just win. Win enough games to make it where I say, you know what? Doesn't matter that things didn't go right. It doesn't matter that you had this injury or that injury. You found a way to get it done. The Chargers, if the season ended right now, and I know it doesn't, if the season ended right now, guess where they would be? Not in the playoffs again for the third straight year with Justin Herbert. Fire sale. They would not be in the playoffs again for the third straight year, and we want to continue to anoint them the next coming. They have a lot to overcome. This is not the NFC. That's the one thing I will say, because you look at some of the teams, like the Jets, maybe it might be the one team that will struggle down the stretch, but we've talked about it with this New England Patriots team. They always play teams close. If they are able to get some wins, that's another team that the Chargers have to deal with. Fortunately for, I think, both conferences, there's a clear line of potential playoffs and everybody else. And maybe that line is the Chargers right now sitting at 9. And with the extra playoff team being 7, all they need is the Jets and Patriots to falter. Going to have some division games down the stretch. Maybe they slide in. But let's not forget the Chargers have their own issue of playing within the division. Let's not forget that they still have to go and play at Arizona this week, at Las Vegas next week, and then go Miami and Tennessee. 2 games that I don't know about you, but I can tell you I'm probably not picking them. in those games. And
so maybe I can ask my question here. Is this a must-win game for the Chargers?
No.
Okay.
It is early, and I do think they're favorable down the stretch. 16, 17, 18 is going to be huge. But I want this to be very known. If it comes down to week 18 at Denver for the Chargers to win and get in, I am almost going to guarantee that the Denver Broncos win that game. And I don't know why. The Denver Broncos are not good, but I just know that I've seen this before from the Chargers in a must-win situation. They haven't been able to get it done. They should have beat the Raiders last year. They didn't. They couldn't get in. When they do have a must-win game, I need to see them win. So until they win, when I need to see them win, I'm not trusting them. And
it could come down to that at the end of the season. It really could.
I think it very well might. And at Denver with that defense, it's not an easy game, despite how we feel about Denver. So I don't know. I think there's only one other team, in my opinion, that could get back in the playoff race in the AFC. So
and that is
you're not gonna like it. I would say you're not gonna like it. Can you make a guess? I'll let you get one guess.
I'm not gonna like it.
You're not gonna like it.
Is it the Colts?
No, hell no.
Oh, I would almost have the Colts.
No, you got to. I'm talent. You got to think.
And I wouldn't like it. And I wouldn't like it.
You wouldn't like it.
Why wouldn't I like it? Who is it?
It's the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, I don't hate that. Why would I? Why would I not like that?
Because they're 3-7 now, or 3-8, or whatever it is, and they're way out of it. Maybe the Raiders, but
it's a quarterback league, man. It is a quarterback league, and that's what
I think they're the one team.
Could be different.
They're the one team that if they lose to Tampa this week, they're 3-8. I can see them winning out.
Like you said, 9-8 at this point for both AFC and NFC is probably that sweet spot for that seventh and final wild card spot. So I can see that, and I think that's what the Chargers are hoping to get to. And what the Cardinals on the other side, they're a 7-loss team, or they're not a 7-loss team.
7-loss.
They're 7-loss team. Okay, yeah, they're a 7-loss team. So one loss away from reaching that mark of that the cusp of the playoffs to us. Kyler Murray missed the past 2 games for them, hoping to have him back after that hamstring injury in this one. Thoughts on the Cardinals in this game, or is it already? We can go to the predictions for this. You have any thoughts on the Cardinals?
No, I actually think with Kyler Murray and James Conner and DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown coming back, I think this offense could look a little different. But they're so hard to figure out. They're not good, but they have good players. But they don't even achieve what like the Chargers achieve. Like you can just never predict when the Cardinals are going to win. They're very inconsistent, but I'm going to predict them to win this game. I think the Cardinals win in this one. I like the matchup. I think James Conner has a nice day here. Give me the Cardinals winning 27-24.
Give me the Chargers here. 28-27. I think it's a close game. And that's obviously if Kyler plays. If Kyler doesn't play, it's not that close. But
I disagree. I think the Cardinals win. I think the Cardinals win either way.
Okay. Wow. Book that one. I have the Chargers here 28-27 though. So we're split. We'll see what happens on Sunday. The New Orleans Saints at 4-7 I skipped a game, you son of a bitch. The New Orleans Saints at 4-7 taking on the 6-4 San Francisco 49ers. Niners favorites in this one by 9.5 points, with an over-under of 43. Two teams that they have 2 of the best running backs in the NFL when it comes down to it, in Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, 2 of the most versatile running backs in the NFL in Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. But one has been used a lot better than the other. But the Saints, they're looking better as of late, but a tough task against the San Francisco 49ers, who have one of the best, if not the best defense in the NFL heading into week 12 here. The Saints tied for most turnovers and worst turnover margin in the NFL. 49ers obviously turning the ball over on defense a lot. Do the Saints, what do the Saints have to do? Do they not have a chance? Yeah, is that where we're at?
The 49ers are good, man. I'm going to continue to say it. Even my 49er fans, I don't get what the hate is. Like, they always hate on my Cowboys. Sometimes it's okay just to be honest and just say a team is good. Cowboys are good. Like, you can honestly say that. The 49ers are a good football team. You can't argue that. I don't care how much you hate them. You can try to justify what they are, what they're not. They're a good football team. I told you that I thought this is what the favorite in the NFC right now is the 49ers to me, despite their 6-4 record. When they added Christian McCaffrey, it put them over the top for me. The versatility, you get Elijah Mitchell back, that helps them even more. The versatility on offense that they're able to kind of just play with and navigate, make this team damn near unstoppable offensively. If they don't make mistakes and Jimmy Garoppolo and that defense shows up, they're right there. I worry about them against high-powered offenses, and that's it. So the only teams that I think will give the 49ers real fits, Kansas City, Buffalo, maybe Philly at times, but I think they can bully Philly around. And then I think like them and Dallas are built very similar. So I think that would be kind of a style of power on power. But there's not many teams that are really just going to go in there and handle the 49ers.
Yeah, and the Saints offense doesn't have that kind of firepower. Really, the offense has not been able to do that to compete like that and have an offense on that level. But who do you think, is it as easy as Andy Dalton has to be the difference maker in this game? Like, that's the player who has to step up? Or maybe like the X factor in this game could be like Dennis Allen and coaching, or maybe a defensive player having to match up against a Christian McCaffrey or someone else on that offense. Is it as easy as Andy Dalton, though, as the X factor for the Saints?
Man, I don't know. Maybe you actually just perplexed me. I don't know what you do. And I haven't looked at all. I haven't looked at game tapes. I'm not out here trying to scheme up for the Saints, but I'm going to be honest. I don't know that there's a path to victory for the Saints, barring the 49ers making mistakes, turning the football over, things like that. I don't know that the Saints can compete. I don't know what you do against the 49ers defensively. You can say you make them run the football, but that's what they want to do. You can say you make them throw the football, but they're really good at play action, and they're really good at scheming guys open. And as a defensive-minded person, I don't know what you do. So if I just off service level, I'm shutting down Christian McCaffrey. That's my first. So my first assignment is Christian McCaffrey. My second assignment is, this might be bizarre, my second assignment is George Kittle. I am playing probably a lot of man coverage against Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and praying that they don't get the better of my DBs. Now, I think Deebo Samuel's a little bit different type of receiver. So you're going to need somebody that's physical, that wants to play in his face, that is willing to go behind the line of scrimmage and go get him after these bubble screens to not let him get going. But that's what I'm telling my guys all week. It's man-to-man coverage.
Is that Tyrann Mathieu?
I don't know that he's not fast enough to keep up with Deebo Samuel. So you can't really put him in man-to-man coverage on Deebo because he's not fast enough to stay with Deebo. Ideally, it would be Marshawn Lattimore in a perfect world, because he could be physical with him. But I don't think he's even fast enough to stay with him. So, and I don't know that Lattimore really wants to go chasing Deebo Samuel around the field in motion and all that stuff. So, I don't know that there's an answer. I think you just let Deebo be Deebo, and you have to tackle. That would be my game plan. It's shut down Christian McCaffrey, make sure George Kittle doesn't beat us. And if it's going to be Deebo Samuel, then we have to tackle. Like, we cannot miss tackles. If you miss tackles, you lose. And he's hard to tackle. So there's not a lot of answers. These defensive coordinators, this is what defensive coordinators are thinking. Okay, what do we want to do? Oh, well, then they got this guy. And we didn't even mention, like I said, Brandon Ayuk. Like, he's a really good route runner, and he's coming on. And I get he's not the other guys, but he's capable. And another weapon that you got to worry about. So
we saw it last week. Brandon Ayuk had a very good day against Arizona Cardinals. I mean, if you focus on one, you're going to get burnt by two more. Like, that's kind of where we're at. I have the San Francisco 49ers in this one. Give me the Niners here 28-17.
I have the Niners winning this one 31 to 16.
Niners are 3-0 when McCaffrey starts this season for them. Since having Christian McCaffrey, 3-0, and they're averaging 30.3 points per game. So that 30 spot might be a sweet number for the Niners here, as we have a clean sweep. Niners over the Saints. The Las Vegas Raiders, 3-7, traveling to Seattle to take on the 6-4 Seahawks. Seahawks favored in this one, 3.5 points with an over under of 47.5 here. The Seahawks might be letting that NFC West lead slowly slip away from their grasp, from their clutches. But they're right there, still in the playoff spot at 6-4, still holding on. Aaron, where are we at with the Seahawks now? We talked a lot about how they might be losing their grasp on that playoff spot. They've obviously lost it on the NFC West because of how good the Niners are becoming. But where are we at now with the Seattle Seahawks? Are we still, they're a playoff team? They're good. They're where they should be.
Well, they're a good football team, and I think they're ahead of where they should be. We are very quick to want to talk about this year with the Seahawks, and I get it because they're playing well, but this isn't about this year. This is about building this team up for the future. I don't think anybody views them as a threat to win a Super Bowl, right, or to even get to a Super Bowl. So right now, all the wins they get, everything that they're doing is just extra. I think they're in a good spot, but I also think that we're probably going to start fading them more. I'm going to start realizing what kind of team they are down the stretch. They're young. And I think this is a perfect example. This game is going to be a perfect example of that. Maybe spoiler alert, but I'm going to take the Raiders in this one. And there's a couple of reasons why. Maybe when you ask me about the Raiders, we can get into it. But Seattle's in a good spot. I don't think the fans need to be worried about anything. Pete Carroll's doing a great job. Geno Smith's playing well. But I do think they'll get a little bit exposed. The youth will get exposed down the stretch when games start to matter more. And you have to play differently in November and December than you do in September and October. And that's just a fact. And that comes with experience. And there's a reason why the Kansas City Chiefs have won 25, 26 in a row in those months, because they have that experience. They know what it's like to win in that time of year. And Seattle does not have that yet. So I think that comes into play down the stretch for them. And going forward through the remainder of their schedule.
Yeah, they obviously came out. They're coming off of a bye. Before the bye, though, they had a 21-16 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Germany, snapping their 4-game winning streak. A tough day for them in that loss. But I do agree with you. I think we're starting to fade. We'll start fading the Seahawks, but I think they will still be right there. A win here will surpass their preseason win total. Their odds on preseason win total, expected win total on the season, they would surpass that if they can win here on Sunday against the Raiders. But you think it goes the other way. You think the Raiders win this game because of what?
Veterans. And I get it that this team has not played well, but I do think down the stretch of a season, there's something to be said about veterans. And I'm going to use last week as a perfect example. They go play the Denver Broncos, and Davante Adams absolutely cooks the best corner in football in Patrick Surtain. I said the best corner in football right now. He had been playing that way. It's him, Sauce, Trayvon Diggs, those guys have been the best corners in football. And Davante Adams cooked them. And guess what? They're going to come in and they're going to be playing a young secondary in Tariq Woolen, who's played great, physical, fast, but Davante Adams is going to cook him. He's going to cook him. He's going to cook him again, and to expect another big day from Davante Adams. But not just that. You get Chandler Jones. You got Max Crosby. You got guys, Josh Jacobs, a veteran, Derek Carr, veteran. Like, they've been in the playoffs before. They've seen moments. They know what it's crunch time. And I think those plays make more plays than the young Seattle Seahawks. When you rely on youth, Ken Walker, it's crazy as it sounds, even DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf hasn't played in really big games. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have that big game experience. Tyler Lockett has played in some bigger games, but DK has not. A lot of this team has not played in big games. And not that this is a big game for the Raiders. It is a big game for the Seahawks to keep that pace with the Niners and keep pace in the playoffs. The pressure is going to start to tighten up. Teams are going to want to be the reason you're out of the playoffs. The Seahawks have a pretty decent schedule other than a 3-game stretch towards the very end. They have these next 3 games. winnable games, I think are huge for the Seattle Seahawks. They have to go 2-1, in my opinion, to have a chance at the playoffs. If they go 1-2, they're going to struggle because they got the Niners, the Chiefs, and the Jets back-to-back weeks before finishing off with the Rams. And I think they're going to be must-win games. So I think this Seattle Seahawks team really is going to have to show up. I don't know that they get it done here. I think this is the one game that they lose, and then they'll be able to bounce back against Carolina and the Rams the next 2 weeks. So I really like the veterans the Raiders have here coming off a win. They got to feel good about themselves. Devontae Adams is going to show out and give me the Raiders in this one. I think it's a high-scoring game. I think it's 30-27. Las Vegas finds a way to win.
I'll go the opposite end. Give me the Seahawks coming off of the bye. Give me the Seahawks here, 27-23 Seahawks. That's
why am I still soloed?
Are you so? My StreamYard's broken. I can't. My StreamYard is broken. I can't click on anything. I've been trying to see what's working and what's not, but I can't click on anything. So
I was like, you're talking, and I was soloed, and I'm like,
yeah. So if you could switch us back to double and then hit the last double. And final game preview.
Okay, all right. Let's get to this last game preview. I'll tell you when it's up. Hold on. Which one is it?
It's the last game preview. It's the last one on the list. The last one on the dock.
I don't have it here.
Oh no, that's fantastic.
All right, the last one I have is Las Vegas and Seattle.
Wow, this is unbelievable right now that this is happening. Hold on, let me see if I can. It's letting me upload. This is a full-on crash from StreamYard here.
Yeah, it should be Eagles and Packers, but I don't see it.
It's supposed to be Eagles Packers. Yeah, that's really what it's supposed to be. Hold on here. Green Bay, Philadelphia. There. I just hit upload. So keep an eye on the uploads here. We can see if this works.
Got it.
Okay,
Here we go.
Great.
Go ahead.
Is it up?
Go ahead.
Am I live? Action. All right. The Green Bay Packers at 4-7 traveling to Philadelphia to take on the 9-1 Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles favorites here by 7 points with an over/under of 46.5. You can take down the graphic because I want to see your beautiful face.
I already did it.
Oh,
well, I'm on it.
This guy, he really should just take my job. Hey, you want a job? CBS is hiring. You can take my job. All right, Packers, Eagles here. 7-point favorites for the Eagles. 7-point dogs is what really comes down to for the Packers on the road. In that nice, I don't want to say it's the primetime spot, but that 4:25 spot, that 4:00 start for the. Oh, it is prime time. It is prime.
God, what is wrong with you?
Prime time game, 7-point dogs for the Falcons are Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh. Slow down and shut up and gather your thoughts. 7-point dog for the Green Bay Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football on NBC at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Vinny, how do you think do you want to switch roles here? Like,
I would switch our views, but my StreamYard's broken. All right. Eagles favorites in this one. Packers dogs. We talked about it, and I've gotten a sense of a theme for this show when we're talking about these certain teams that you give me dead voice. When we talk about the Broncos, when we talk about the Packers, when we talk about not the Chargers, but when we talk about these certain teams that have not lived up to the expectations, you give me dead voice. And I feel like that's where you would go with the Packers because you've already given your eulogy for the Green Bay Packers 2 weeks ago. If you missed it, go check it out. The Packers are dead. Let's talk about the Eagles here, though. They enter this game 9-1. They lost to the Commanders on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago and then had a knockout drag out between them and the Colts last week. Are we starting to see a little bit of cracks in the armor for the Philadelphia Eagles? I know it was just against the Colts and against the Commanders, but are we starting to see what maybe we're expecting to see, like the cracks in the armor? Are we starting to see it?
Yeah, I think we are, but not in a bad way. Like, every team has to go through something like this. Every team has to have some adversity and be able to get through it. We're seeing it with Buffalo right now in some of their close games with not, inferior teams. We've seen it with Kansas City. It's part of what your journey is through the season. So, I do think there's been some chinks. The run defense has been poor. Even the Colts game, Jonathan Taylor, the very first drive, went right down the field, punched one in, and I'm like, yeah, they missed Jordan Davis, and that was with Ndamukong Suh being there, I forget his name. Big boy used to play for the Vikings. I forget what his name is, but they signed him too.
Linval Joseph.
So they knew that they had a hole in the middle and they needed to address it. And it's still, obviously, it's not Jordan Davis. So that's something you look for other teams to start exploiting. And I think the Colts did exactly what the Washington Commanders did on Monday night. They tried to beat them the same way and almost got it done. I think it's a copycat league, and we know that about the NFL. I expect more teams to come out and do what those teams did. So, yeah, chinks in the armor, but I think it's good for Philly, because if they would have just went into the playoffs undefeated, never really having faced anybody or faced adversity, I think that's when it's a recipe for disaster. Let's be honest. Philadelphia Eagles and the NFC East in general have a very easy schedule. Their schedule is very, very easy. These next couple of games, though, I do think there's going to be some more testing of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I get it. I've written the eulogy of the Packers. But at the end of the day, the Green Bay Packers are still the Green Bay Packers, and they still have Aaron Rodgers. And you have a quarterback, you have a chance to make something happen. And I'm rooting on the Packers. You know that. I'm a Cowboys fan. But I do think Philly's the better team here. But it's not just that game. It's then you go you have to play the Titans. We know what kind of game that's going to be. Physical, grind it out. You go at New York, division game. At Chicago in December, who knows what the weather's going to be like. At Dallas, 3 straight road games. Like, right now, they're going to face some adversity. This is where Philly goes from a 1-loss team to probably a 2 or 3-loss team at some point in time. It's, can they withstand those games? Can they pull out the win like they did with the Colts? And if they can, then they're going to be better off in the long run. And even if they can't, they've at least seen it and know what to expect in the long run. So I'm not going to overreact to them winning or losing a game, but I do think this is a pivotal part of their schedule and seeing what they're going to be able to do in the playoffs, because that's really what this boils down to. Nobody cares that Philly has a bunch of wins now if they can't win in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think they win here, though. Oh, man. Give me the Packers on the upset. Give me the Packers on the upset here. 26-23 Packers.
Yeah,
no logic behind it.
I don't like that soft defense. I don't like that soft defense of the Packers. I'm going to take Philly here. I think they find a way to get it done. I think they put up 30 against the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers just aren't it. I hope you're right, but I'll take Philly here, 30-23.
That's fair. That's fair. And again, I don't. It's a little bit of it might be a stretch, but it's just one of those feelings. You know, whenever you have whenever you have one of those feelings, something that needs to be noted that we didn't discuss before we end this clip. Aaron Rodgers announced this week that he's playing with a broken right thumb since week 5 in his throwing hand. That's actually not good, Bob. That's not good at all. But give me the Packers here on the upset, 26-23 Packers. Aaron, let's help Adam out. Let's help Adam out on some fantasy talk here before we wrap this show up. Should I trade Saquon Barkley and Deshaun Watson for Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb full PPR? He's 5-7 and he needs to make a move at wide receiver, which he's short at.
What's that running back room look like? Trading Barkley is a big deal. That's a heavy trade. But if you're 5-7, you're fighting for playoffs now. I like it. I actually like it. I love the CeeDee Lamb. Watson, obviously, you're not getting anything with Watson for a few more weeks. They still have a bye week coming up. I'm assuming you're good at quarterback because you had to have been playing one.
Yeah.
I think I take that deal. And just hopefully you have some guys at running back, because I would be worried about trading Saquon Barkley. But we talked about it. Listen, Saquon Barkley has to play Washington twice in the next couple of weeks. That's very, very good run defense. You know what defenses want to do against the Giants, which is stop the run. And he had a decent day against Dallas, but by all means, it wasn't a spectacular day. He found a way to get in the end zone. I'm liking it. That's it. I don't know. That's the only running backs.
He's got Rachaad White and Jeff Wilson. That's it. I don't think you can do that deal if that's all you have. I think you have to at least. I would, in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. You are the fantasy advice guy on this show, but correct me if I'm wrong. if I'm in this situation, I'm 5-7. I do think you have to start making a move to try and push for that playoff spot. Watson doesn't give you that, in my opinion. I like you can get rid of him, but I would see if you can get. Oh, he has Kareem Hunt and Elijah Mitchell as well. I don't know if that changes that I don't know if that changes it that much. In my opinion, I would try and see if you can get a running back instead of Brandon Ayuk. Try and still get CeeDee Lamb, but maybe see if you can get a running back to replace. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to replace Saquon Barkley, but I think
sounds like it's
thin.
a pretty deep league. It sounds like it's got to be at least 12 teams, but because if you just got Barkley, I would be. You said you need to make a move at wide receiver, which means your wide receivers can't be that great either. If you're running, and I don't know how you got here. I don't know what trades you've made in the past, but if you can post your full roster, that'd be great. But or even leave a comment on this video, and I can go back and give you a little bit more in-depth advice. If you post your roster in the comments of the video, I can go back and kind of tell you maybe where you should go. But I do like the deal. I'd be worried at your running back position. Those guys are all. Jeff Wilson's probably the best of those guys. Going to see the most volume. I'd be worried about those other guys. I think those are back-end RB2s at best. More flex plays than anything. I would have some serious concerns. I'm assuming you have guys like Josh Allen on your team or a top quarterback, or based on how this kind of plays out, unless you made some bad deals earlier this year, or guys have been injured for you. Guys, maybe you had Cooper Kupp and got Cooper Kupp in the first round and he's out, something like that. So it's really hard to tell based upon the roster you're giving me. But I think face value, I think Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb for Saquon Barkley and Deshaun Watson is a good deal.
Yeah, okay, he's starting to post it in the chat. If you want to, let's get into it right now. Yeah,
that makes more sense. So it's a shallow league when you're, as far as starting guys, pretty standard: 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end. If you're playing a flex,
is Jefferson Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's Justin Jefferson. Who else would that be?
I don't know. If it's a deep league, you might be throwing in a Jamar Jefferson of the Lions.
No, Justin Jefferson. I'm assuming it was his first round pick. Saquon Barkley was his second round pick. Probably George Kittle in the third there, and then Justin Fields later on. So Michael Pittman in the 4th, 5th. To be honest, I don't like that move anymore.
I don't either. I think you trade
Deshaun Watson. I would do this if I were you. You could possibly trade Deshaun Watson for a running back, or Deshaun Watson.
Who's a buy low running back that you can, because obviously you'd have to look in this situation. You'd have to find a playoff team in your league, because you're still without Deshaun Watson for another 2 weeks or another 3 weeks. So you're still going to be without him. So you have to find a playoff team that is willing to take the weight on Deshaun Watson.
I don't think it needs to be a running back. Like right now, I would trade Deshaun Watson for Brandon Ayuk, and then throw Brandon Ayuk where Rachaad White is in your flex, and that's a much better lineup.
Give me a lower value player then. A lower value than go. What's the bar? What I'll start looking through players here to start feeding you, because maybe Ayuk has had some good weeks as of late. So maybe his value is higher. Maybe it's more than a Deshaun Watson. He says he might be targeting Dameon Pierce and Travis Etienne. Would you trade Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson and Rachaad White for Dameon Pierce?
Yeah, but they're not going to do that.
Okay.
Nobody's going to take that offer. If the person's willing to take Deshaun Watson and Saquon Barkley for Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb, basically CeeDee Lamb and Saquon Barkley is almost a swap. I think you try to move Deshaun Watson for something lesser. You do not need Deshaun Watson. You can take an L at what his ceiling will be for a player that you can start week in and week out.
You got to win now.
And it doesn't matter if it's a running back or a wide receiver. I think your wide receivers are fine, and Jefferson, Pittman, Kittle's fine. Jeff Wilson is a good RB2 at this point. I'm keeping Saquon Barkley. I can't move Saquon right now with the running backs that you have, unless you're trading Saquon Barkley to get depth at running back. Maybe you trade Saquon to get a Dameon Pierce and maybe you trade Saquon to try to get Alvin Kamara and somebody. And somebody else, like a guy with that much upside who has been struggling the past couple of weeks. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you go after Dameon Pierce and you try to get Dameon Pierce and Alvin Kamara, something along those lines. But I don't think you can move Saquon for receivers. I don't think you need to move them for receivers. I think you just ride Jefferson and Pittman to the finish line. And I like your team as is, to be honest. That flex play every week is who you're deciding. That Rachaad White every week is who you're deciding between. Sometimes it's going to be Elijah Mitchell. Sometimes it's going to be Rachaad White. Sometimes it's going to be Kareem Hunt. I think that's where you try to improve. And with that, I would say move Deshaun Watson and try to get somebody to fill in that void.
Yeah, the Deshaun Watson is the move to make here. I think I'm on board with that as well. Try to find a running back. I think if I'm you, I would be trying to find a running back for Deshaun Watson in some way, shape, or form, a buy low type of running back, and whether you package that with someone else to send over to get a running back. I think that's really your weakest spot. But of course, we appreciate your comment, Adam. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and share. We are live on Sundays for our fantasy shows at noon, getting you ready for getting you ready to win your fantasy championships.
Pigskin and pancake, baby.
Bingo. And you know what? I'll even pull up the graphic for it. I'll even pull up the thumbnail for it. Pigskin and Pancakes are live every Tuesday, or every Sunday, I should say, at noon, bringing you all the fantasy talk you need to help you win your matchups. And Tuesdays, we're live at 10, giving you your fantasy advice for the coming week and recapping what has transpired in the previous. But so be sure to hit that subscribe button and share. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you asking. We are always here to help you win your fantasy leagues. That does it, though, for our Week 12 previews. We'll be back again, like we just said, at noon on Sunday for Pigskin and Pancakes. And we'll be back recapping these games on Monday, live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, though, for my best friend Aaron Mukes, I am me. We will see you Sunday.
Peace out.